in theirs. So again, that's why I just really appreciate and them getting that recognition because it's really well deserved and they don't get enough credit sometimes. So thank you.
Don't leave.
All right, everybody's leaving?
Yeah, don't leave.
All right, item 6.2 is the presentation on the public safety and monthly report from Rank and Mountain House Police Services provided by San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office and the Mountain House Fire Department and Emergency Medical Services, presented by French Camp Fire Department. Rex? Not you? Test.
Ready?
All right.
Evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and staff. Today I'll be presenting our stats from 7:15 to 8:15. There we go. Oh, it's not showing the whole thing. Oh, there it goes. So we have the seven special incident calls were 29. We had 8 suspicious vehicles, 6 trespassing, 4 after hours park at the parks, 7 occupied vehicles, 4 suspicious persons. We had 2 traffic controls, either for police or fire, 14 vacation checks, and 525 security checks. And then for the e-bikes, we're trying to help out and educate kids on the e-bikes, what the rules are. Same thing with the parents, talk to their kids. And then we're still doing the vacation house checks. So anybody going on vacation, feel free to call the number and set it up with our dispatch, and we'll come by and check your house while you're on vacation or gone for the weekend. Community outreach, we were out at Central Park shaking hands and kissing babies. It was a great turnout. We also provided the security and road closures for music in the park. Those were a big success. And that concludes, oh, and since school's been back in, we've been out at schools monitoring and collecting data. And we'll have more of a full report at the next meeting for what we collect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. I'm here presenting the monthly stats for the month of July. Total calls for service for the month were at 863. So information on citations issued. For July, we were at 103. That's a small dip from June. We had both our motors off for a combination, were off due to a combination of vacation and training for 2 weeks. So that obviously affected the numbers there. Parking citations is 20. We're actually receiving a lot more parking citations. It seems like on a monthly basis. We're just getting more through the Gov software system. I think more residents are actually using that to report parking issues throughout the city. So we're having our motors handle those for now. 19 of the citations were for stop sign violations and 2 were for helmet violations for juveniles. Total of 9 collisions for the month, and there was also 2 drunk driving arrests, and those were the only two drunk driving incidents that were reported. Regarding crime stats, property crimes were at 9, assault 6, and violent crimes were at 4 for the month. The e-bikes, motorcycles, we've actually started, we've towed about 4 of the dirt bikes over the last about 3 weeks. We started kind of shifting from just the advising phase of that into the actual towing and issuing citations on that. So depending on who you ask in the city, that may be a good thing or bad, good thing or not a bad thing. It just kind of depends. But we have started to tow the bikes that are not street legal on that. So once additional trainings are being handed out to the guys, so they're aware of actually what laws are applicable for those violations. For arrests for the month, physical arrests, we're at 13, and they were all fresh charges, which is incidents which occurred right then and there that had probable cause developed by the deputies to make an arrest. Just to highlight a couple of calls, Deputy Bristino responded to a call this past month, north of Byron, in the new development side. A suspicious vehicle call, looking in the vehicle is actually filled with lots of items that had been taken from several of the new homes being built. That individual was booked on various theft-related charges, and the vehicle was towed. There was also a robbery about end of June, I believe it was, over on Wilshire Avenue. Deputy Hilaire was able to gather some information and work with detectives, and actually the same individuals were also linked to various other similar crimes throughout the entire region. So county detectives are following up on that, as well as along with several other counties who believe they're also wanted for other crimes in their jurisdictions. Coming up September 27th, we have the Sheriff's Office Foundation being put on by Mountain House Deputy Grant, and that will be for the motor competition. So we're still in the process of getting everything needed for that. It will be taking place in the parking lot of the Bass Pro Shop in the city of Manteca. That was one of the only areas we could find a space large enough for everyone who's going to come in from other regions throughout the state to participate, to hold enough area for all the equipment, trailers, bikes, and of course is needed for that. And UCR Part 1s and 2s are just all the crime stats divided up. July 24, 8, and July 25, 13, the UCR parts are more of the violent crimes, and Part 2s are going to be more of the fraud, property crimes, everything else that's removed from the Part 1. So, last year 100, and this year we're at 106. Regarding that, so this is slight increase over the past year. Any questions about any of the information?
Harrison?
Yeah, I don't have, Mayor, I don't really have a question, but I did have some interaction with one of your deputies, Deputy Alari.
O'Leary?
And anyways, very professional. And I just wanted you to know that she definitely represents the agency well. So I just wanted to point that out to you, Lieutenant.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Who's next? Chief?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members, and Mountain House staff. This evening, I'm going to give the Fire and EMS report for the month of July. For the month of July, we had 96 calls compared to last month, which we had 84, and in a year to date in July, we had 93, which for this year in the month of July, we were pretty busy. A lot of it has to do with the prevention of fireworks within our community, and I just wanted to say thank you to the Mountain House staff for the public notice of no fireworks in our community, and to our staff and to the sheriff's staff for upholding that. We had very little, if any, less than a handful of incidences within that period from June until July 5th. And tonight we have Captain Fisk, who is on our firework task force through the county, who went throughout the whole month and assisted the sheriff and other agencies in preventing fireworks within our county. And then Engineer DeBerg, who also was recognized tonight for his service to the fire service, for our fire department with the drone program, which would allowed us to be able to put our drones up in the air through the community to make sure that we were safe and making sure that we had no fireworks in our community. So I want to say thank you to those folks. Our response times, we're actually meeting them within a 90 percentile. For fire is 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and our EMS 2 minutes and 14 seconds. So we're able to get out into the community to make sure that we're keeping it safe. And no. All right, and then for the community engagement, I just figured they were doing it for me. Through the month of July, as we always do in the community, we're always active and out there in the community. Our local labor group was able to give 2 $500 scholarships of merit to 2 Mountain House students, which they do annually, and that money is raised through our pancake breakfast, in which they put on in October. We were also involved with the 4th of July parade, which was another phenomenal participation through the community. And then towards the end of the month during our schools, the school summer program, we went out and made sure that we cooled them down for the teachers to be able to have a nice day of school with the kiddos. And which is not on my report, but we are going to have 7 new members that are going to be part of our fire department. They're in the process. Our lateral engineer will be starting September 1st, and then our 7 firefighters will be starting September 15th. And then hopefully all of them will be online and ready to go in the middle of October. Any questions?
Vice Mayor?
Thank you so much for your report on how the fire department supports us. And you failed to add what the fire department came out and worked with the Youth Action Committee on 2 occasions. So would you like to add that to your report?
Absolutely. I am so sorry, Vice Mayor. We do, as we always do, we're invited to come to the programs that we have during the summer for the kids. And our members like to come out, and this year they were very active in showing them how to do CPR. Actually, some of our members, I think that were here, they actually had a CPR competition, which was very entertaining. And then also we came out to, myself and some other firefighters, to do a little bit of career to provide some information about the fire service and how that might be something that could be a future opportunity for them as well.
And thank you very much. That's appreciated every year, and the young people of Mountain House admire it, and they respect the fire department for the hands-on.
We enjoy their questions. They have a lot of intriguing questions that we don't typically get, so it's kind of nice.
That's true.
All right, that's it. Thank you. Who's next? French, no. Rank? No, we're all done. All right, it's 6.3. Let me read this without my glasses. Presentation from the California Department of Water Resources on the Delta Conveyance Project Community Benefits Program, which provides funding for local projects that improve water reliability, community resilience, and environmental benefits. Catherine, there you are.
I'm here. Hi, thank you for having me here tonight. You have a presentation, I think it's coming up. I'll introduce myself. Oh, is it?
Yeah, a little bit closer to you.
There we go. It's loading. Okay, thank you. My name is Catherine Marquez. I'm from the Department of Water Resources. I'm a program manager in our Delta Conveyance office there. And I was invited tonight to speak to you guys about the Delta Conveyance Project's Community Benefits Program. So first, I just wanted to start, I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with the Delta Conveyance Project, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about what it is. So what it is a proposed project to construct new intakes in the North Delta, and then convey that water via underground tunnel, which is constructed through a series of shafts, and it would connect to a new pumping plant just south of Clifton Court Forebay. And from there, it'll go up the hill through some aqueducts into Bethany Reservoir. So just right over there. So that's what the Delta Conveyance Project is. But I want to explain a little bit about why the Delta Conveyance Project is important. And so, oh, this graphic didn't show up. So that's supposed to be the state of California, showing the state water project service areas. And so the Department of Water Resources manages the state water project, which provides water to many service areas, which are shown up here. And it provides water to 27 million people of California and 750,000 acres of farmland. And that supports what is considered the world's 8th largest economy. So it's a very important source of reliable water for the people of California. And it's facing future climate challenges, in the form of climate change and sea level rise. So if we're looking at current deliveries, there would be an expectation for those deliveries to be reduced by about 22% by 2070. And there's also the risk of extended disruption during potential seismic events, because the existing state water project actually utilizes the Delta's natural channels and pulls the water from the South Delta right here at Clifton Court Forebay through Banks Pumping Plant. So why the Delta Conveyance Project is important is because it is the State Water Project was built on a historical pattern of accumulating snowpack in the winter, followed by slower snowmelt. And so the expectation was that we would be collecting a lot of our water during that snowmelt period. However, with climate change, there's an expectation for more rain and less snow. And there's an expectation for flashier high flow conditions, which is what we've actually seen in the past few years. So by having those intakes, those screened intakes in the North Delta, we would add the capacity to safely divert those flows during those high flow conditions in the winter, when we normally would not be able to collect that water due to water operations associated with flood management and species protections. So this facility would allow us to capture the movement of the water during those conditions when we wouldn't otherwise be able to capture that. So this slide is an example of what that would look like. So this slide shows how much water we could capture during those high flow events if the project had been built. So in the last row there, if the project had been built just in this water year of 2025, during those high flow conditions, we would have been able to capture 956,000 acre feet of water, which is enough water to supply over 10 million people for 1 year, or you can think of it as over 3.3 million households for 1 year. So this project is all about modernizing the aging state water project infrastructure in order to protect water security for over 2/3 of Californians, protect against seismic risk and sea level rise, and to prepare for the impacts of climate change by improving our ability and our flexibility to move and store water. So as part of the Delta Conveyance Project, we have put forth a community benefits program, and this is an acknowledgement that the water supply reliability benefits don't necessarily directly benefit the people in the Delta, and it's the people in the Delta that are going to be the ones bearing the brunt of the construction of the facilities. And while there is regulatory mitigation proposed with regulations like the California Environmental Quality Act, those don't address all the adverse effects that those local communities might see. So there are 4 components of our community benefits program. One is the Delta Community Fund. This is a grant program, and it would be up and running probably around the time we would be expecting to go to construction, and it would fund community prioritized projects in the Delta. The second component is what we call economic development. So this would be managed more through our design and construction and implementation branch, I guess. So it would be managed through hiring targets, job training and education, local business utilization during construction of the project. The third component are integrated benefits. So these are opportunities where in constructing our project, there might be things that we can leave behind that would benefit local communities. The easiest example we usually give is that we have established park and rides for construction of the project, and our current analysis shows us removing those once we're done with construction. If there is a need for a park and ride, that's something that can stay with a certain city or area. And so that's a really simple example of potential integrated benefits. And then the last component here is what we're really focusing on today, our community benefits agreements. So this is some way to sort of get a head start on working through potential agreements. So our community benefits agreements are specific agreements with local entities. So it's similar to the concept of the grant program, except there's no competition for the funds right now. It's a direct agreement between DWR and a local entity. And it's a way to work more collaboratively with that entity to help develop the concepts that they might want to propose for funding. So we have been talking with the city manager's office about a potential community benefits agreement. We've been looking at certain priority projects that could potentially meet eligibility requirements. And so those are Wickland Cut Pump Station, the Aquifer Storage Recovery Well, the Tracy Tie-In Desalination Plant at, should know the acronym, but WWTP. There you go. And Stormwater Improvement Project, Mountain House Mobility Hub, and then the Byron Highway widening. So as I mentioned before, we're kind of in the early stages of this community benefits program development. We do have an implementation plan that's available that discusses all the different components. But right now, what we're actively working on are initial agreements in principle that would then guide the development of future community benefits agreements. So that's what we're working on this summer. We would not be able to execute those community benefits agreements until we have all the permits and approvals for the Delta Conveyance Project and the funding in place in order to then provide the funding for those community benefits agreements. So the way the timeline is working here is that we're currently working on agreements in principle. In the fall, we are, it's related but not related, we are working on a certification of consistency with the Delta Plan. That is another regulatory process through the Delta Stewardship Council. The reason why it's listed here is because we will mention the groups that we are talking about community benefits program with in that certification. So it's just for awareness that it will be public, and it has been. And so we're working on that certification of consistency this fall. We have other major permits and approvals that we are working on for the project that we are hoping to have by the end of 2026. There would then be funding votes that would happen with the participating water agencies for the Delta Conveyance project. At some point after that, we would get approval to issue bonds for the project and have the funding available. And so it's at that point in time that we would be really executing and negotiating the specific terms of the community benefits agreement. So for example, right now, we're working on an agreement in principle, agreements in principle, which may outline a commitment to a concept that we would then detail and specifically identify in that community benefits agreement. And then we are currently planning to go to construction sometime in the 2029 timeframe. And as I mentioned before, that's when a lot of the other components of the community benefits program would then be up and running. And I think that's all I had. Questions?
Any questions? No? Disco?
So what type of feedback and support have you received from our regional, federal, state, and county leaders on this project?
I'm sorry, what was the last part? Regional, federal, state?
What
county?
type of endorsements or feedback have you received from like our congressmen, our assemblywomen, the different regional directors of our area above our city pay grade?
So as I mentioned before, the Delta Conveyance project is a project of statewide importance. There are some vocal opponents of the Delta Conveyance project. There's also a lot of support for the Delta Conveyance project. I don't know if you guys saw this, but a couple of weeks ago, the governor's office did announce the release of our accountability action plan, of which the community benefits program is a part of that. So there is definitely support at the governor's level for this project. I don't know exactly Mountain House's specific hierarchy, I suppose, in government, but there are definitely vocal opponents of the project as well, particularly in the North Delta. So.
And then second part of my question is, how does this affect our primary water supply when you're bypassing the Clifton Forebay, which we pull from, and expect us to support rediverting that 400 miles south to Southern California? What happens to us in a drought? If we have an aquifer, sure, the money to build that's great. If we don't have a way to fill that and we don't have a primary water source, what's the selling point aside from offering us a grant to support this project?
So I didn't go into a lot of detail on the operations of the project in this particular slideshow. It's more for overall informational purposes. But this is a dual conveyance project. So, and the primary conveyance option is the current option. So currently, the water goes into Clifton Forebay, as you mentioned, and gets pumped from Banks Pumping Plant. So that is the primary operations choice. It's only when we meet certain conditions, and there are specific conditions that are outlined, but generally, it's when we have these high flow conditions in which we would be able to operate the North Delta intakes and pull that water in. And currently, that water flows out through the bay. It doesn't get pumped by Banks Pumping Plant because of specific operational constraints. We can't pump during that time period. So.
And what is our city manager's take on this, given that you're a little more versed on water operations here?
I think the purpose of this is that these kind of decisions are, again, above our pay grade as far as what's going to happen with the project. But essentially what they're doing is offering some potential, as part of the mitigations for construction and things, offering some partnerships here. So if there's money available, whether we support the Delta project or not, I think it's important that we have the dialogue to see if it does happen, we would certainly want to take advantage of whatever funds are available for the projects as listed on the, as you know, we have all these different water supply projects. So any additional dollars would be welcome.
So-
And I did, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I did want to mention, though, that to be part of these agreements, we are not asking for any sort of support for the Delta Conveyance Project. We have been discussing agreements with entities that are very vocal at not supporting the Delta Conveyance Project, but they are considering entering into these agreements in the chance that the Delta Conveyance Project does get approved and moves forward, and in that instance, then they would have those funds available to provide benefits for their local communities.
The seeming acceptance of this grant in press gives an indirect influence that we are endorsing a project, right? Whereas if our local Congress and our different state and, federal representatives in our area are fighting and pushing bills to stop this, and now we go and accept a grant, whether we support it or not, we just supported that by accepting a grant. I'm all for free money. I'm all for having things to improve our infrastructure, but I'm also very hypercritical on anything that we associate ourselves with as a city from my perspective as an individual on this council, because ultimately it shows to a resident who's not looking at the bylaws of accepting this grant and seeing the overarching money to Mountain House from opposed conveyance project. It's just, I just want to address this to my fellow council members, and I understand these funds can be used for great things, but at what cost to us with our regional relationships with these higher-ups?
I did want to clarify that we are not currently moving forward with an agreement right now. We are still in discussions with the City of Mountain House, of course. But also, this agreement in principle stage is an agreement to negotiate in good faith a community benefits agreement in the future. So there's no actual commitment to the funds or to you accepting the funds. There's still a chance to choose to not execute the community benefits agreement in the future.
I've just been paying attention to this past 2 years, so that's why I want to bring this up to the others who may not have done the research yet and hope that they look at the pros and cons of this. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Vice Mayor?
Just a comment, but it's no use going into it because Councilmember Disco did cover it, and that was my question about the funding or assistance with the Aquifer storage recovery well, because that is something that is under consideration. So I was just wondering about how that tied in, but you answered it with this question that addressed it, and thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Let's move on to item 7.1, or 7, City Council consent items. Anything you guys want to pull? Can I get a motion to approve the items?
Motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
I'll second the motion.
Roll call.
Councilmember Disco?
There is an item I would like to pull for review first.
Which one?
Going to be 8.2.
8.2?
Yeah.
We're doing 7 right now.
Okay, let me switch that to I.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Disco?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Councilmember Harrison?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Tingle?
Aye.
Mayor Sue?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
All right, now we're moving on to 8.1, amended and restated fire protection and emergency medical services agreement. Rex?
Mayor and Council, this evening, I'm going to talk to you about the fire agreement that we've been waiting for a while. I know that every council meeting, someone says, hey, how's that going? How's that going? And I'm very proud to say that a team effort took place and it's now in front of you. I'll give you a little bit of what we have to say. So the staff recommends that the City Council adopt the resolution approving an amended and restated agreement for fire protection and emergency medical services with French Camp McKinley Fire District. This amendment will be executed and agreed to June 30th, 2030. Get back to the beginning here. Let Let me give you a little background, and most of you know it, and I just got done looking up the last time we amended this, and some of you were on this board, and it was in August of 2021, a little bit after the July date that it was supposed to be done, so we did this second amendment to it. So in 2015, French Camp Fire Department came on board as our fire service. They provided services for a scope of things that we needed done. They moved in seamlessly into the position, and we have had them as our fire service since then. When we think about them, this is pretty privileged. If you talk to other fire districts around the state and the county, there are very few that operate as well and with the abilities that our fire department does. We are currently operating under a one-year agreement because we missed the July date. So within the contract, there was a provision that allowed us to enter into a one-year agreement while we got this worked out. So we never had any gap in service at all. This partnership that we talk about, that picture actually comes from 2015 when they first got here. Lots changed, everything from equipment to engines. The fire service agreement and the provider, we want continued trust and relationship with these folks. And we have that, I believe. So the terms, this contract will now run through June 30th, 2030, with options for future 5-year renewals, which are 2. And I stress that these renewals just aren't automatic. They'll come back to you just as the other ones have, and through the city manager's office, and we'll talk about them and see what it is that we need to do. Here's the big question that comes up with this one, and I've heard it from some of you, 44% increase in our budget. Well, this increase covers the new staffing levels that the fire chief talked about. There's 7 firefighters in the wings being readied. Higher payroll cost, there's benefit obligations that we have, and we do all this to make sure we have 24/7 service. The financial impact, I'm supposed to put this in here, and it's a big number. I always like saying it. It looks like there's a period in there. Sorry, Sarah, wherever you're at. $4,967,120. That's been approved through our budget process. And I will tell you that the budget process will look at this every year. So this isn't an automatic where it travels with the contract. Every year, the fire service will sit down with the representatives from the city manager's office and we'll negotiate what that contract. We already know what that needs to look like. Now we look at the financial side of it. And we'll do that through the regular budget process that you folks do every year. So why is that important? Well, we have station number 1 and station 2, as you both know, and they will operate together, expanding response capabilities within the city. And you heard the fire chief talk about the response times. Prior to that station being built and when they can occupy it, there was an extended period of time to get to the north part of the community. And that right there has been resolved by you folks stepping up and saying we need another fire station and personnel to cover it. So our minimum staffing, people ask how this works out. Well, both stations are, when they're active, and I say active meaning we get these other 7 guys working, there'll be a minimum of 7 officers on every day. So there won't be a gap there, and that's 3 companies plus a duty officer. They'll work every shift. So 3 companies essentially means I am not a fireman, so I'll say there's 3 fire trucks, then they have people on them, and then they have a guy that's the boss that goes with them. So essentially, they will cover all of the, both sides of I say Byron. So some cost sharings. We are part of French Camp Fire Department, and we have some cost sharings with them, and it's actually about a 65-35 split. We pay 65% of most of the salaries, especially the fire chiefs, and also with some of the costs that are associated with it. But I will say that the equipment they have, the engines that they have, you've bought new ones recently. We have the best equipment and apparatus for firefighting probably in the region, and we're blessed to have that because of your guys' strategic planning and forethought. So let's look at the comprehensive services. We do want them to do certain things for us. In the contract, it says they provide fire suppression, emergency medical response, hazardous materials support, technical rescues, community education, and fire prevention. I think that we can check that box off because you got to hear tonight what they do. So this is my favorite, and it should be yours too, local identity. When the French Camp Fire Department came in, they said, we will, and it's in the contract. The fire trucks don't say French Camp. They're uniforms don't say French Camp. They're our fire department. And that identity is something they're proud of, and you can see them here tonight when they had the firefighter. They walk the talk, and we appreciate having that ability to say that's our fire department. You folks always stress that we want to have oversight and reporting, and I commend you for wanting to have that. The fire department provides service reports monthly or quarterly, where they give us, really, it's the bill. And we look at that, and we look at it in a way that we can see what's going on. It talks about accounting, we talk about personnel, talk about service, materials, additional services, and capital expenses, and they're required to report those things to us. In addition, if you don't like something, we have an agreement with the fire chief in the contract. He will be here, or his next representative, which is the deputy chief or the captain, will be here every month. 12 times he has to be here. He'll give his report, but if you have additional questions, you have an opportunity right away to talk to him. The bosses kind of stops right there. Continuity and stability. If you follow the trends in the state, it's hard to recruit and retain. It's hard to recruit people to work. It's hard to retain them because everybody was looking for somebody else. We beg, borrow, and steal people all the time. We have great staff, and they've all worked most places someplace else, and we recruited them. They're doing the same thing. So the contract really kind of fortifies the fact that you're a firefighter, you come here, we're going to have not just a contract year to year, we have a 5-year contract. Now, you want to work for a career base of 20 or 30 years, we got 2 more potential extensions. So we have people that can really lateral here and say that they're going to be here for 30 years, and that is a career. I know you don't like reading things to you, but I'm going to read this because this is kind of how I felt about this contract, and you can read along with me, but this agreement reflects both growth and responsibility. The 44% increase is necessary to support the expanding staff, additional facilities, and rising operational costs, but it also secures the same professional fire service that Mountain House residents have relied on since 2015. By extending this partnership, the city ensures strong, stable, and accountable fire protection for years to come. Here's the legal thing again. When I'm done, you folks, staff recommends that the city council adopt the resolution approving an amended and restated agreement for fire protection and emergency medical services with the French Camp McKinley Fire Department. This amendment will extend the agreement to June 30th, 2030. Guess what? That's it. So any questions you may have, and the best part about any questions you may have, if I can't answer them, I know a guy that might be able to. And if he can't, I know another guy. So, all right. Any questions for us?
Vice Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rex, for your presentation, and I too am extremely proud of our fire department. I have one question. What's the status, if any, on ALS?
Are you asking? Good, I'll answer for that. They're required to provide the basic life support, BLS. And they are striving, they have some ideas and plans to bring forward, to bring in a more advanced life-saving. But at this point, the contract in front of you requires them to do the EMS services at the basic level. So someday, we'll be back up in front of you possibly and saying, this is what they'd like to do, and they'll tell you how much that'll cost.
Okay, because to me, ALS is extremely important for the advanced life support service because we're growing. We have 2 stations now, and we're growing, and that's something that I think we need to start addressing at some point. But I was wondering if there was a status on it, but thank you for being frank.
Yes, ma'am. What they might do.
And Harrison, I think you're next.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Rex. A very good report. I just love our fire department. And Chief Marty, you've done an outstanding job. And we're not letting you retire. But for me, I just want you to know that, you know, since I've been on the board, even prior to this, Mountain House Fire Department is just been incredible what they've done for Mountain House. Just not putting out fires, but the community things that they do as far as showing up at folks' house for birthday parties or just going around the neighborhood and or schools with different events. So I just thank you and as far as I'm concerned, you guys are part of our family.
Any other questions?
I have one.
Go ahead.
I have a question for the fire chief. What happened to the water in the dunk tank this year? Because I came
We
prepared.
would like to know the answer to that, too.
Where was the water in the dunk tank? In the fire hydrant, and whose responsibility was that?
I'm blaming the Delta Tunnel right now.
Thank you.
Any other council questions? If not, I'd like to open public comments. Public's invited to make comments on this item. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. None? Let's bring it back to the council for discussion. Any further discussion? Harrison, no? You want to make a motion?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve 8.1 amendment and restate fire protection and emergency medical service agreement.
Can I get a second?
I'd be glad to second that motion.
Roll call?
Councilmember Disco?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Councilmember Harrison?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Tingle?
Aye.
Mayor Sue?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
Will this
Thank
help
you.
with retention efforts? Will this help with your retention efforts?
All right, item 8.2 is Aquifer Storage and Recovery Well Design, Grant, and Construction Engineering Services. Karen?
Good evening, council. I have for you tonight a presentation on our aquifer storage and recovery well process. So staff recommends to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Woodard and Kern, who I have here with me tonight, in the amount of $4,810,000 plus a 10% contingency of just over $400,000 for a total of $5.29 million. We would also like to approve a budget adjustment totaling $1.8 million, transferring money from the capital improvement project funds, including $950,000 from the Orion Endpoint Installation Project and $900,000 from the Alternative Water Supply Project to the Aquifer Storage and Recovery Project. So before I get into all of this stuff with the Aquifer Storage and Recovery well, I kind of want to talk about the background a little bit. Our current water is exclusively from BBID, and it's been proven very reliable over the last several decades, except for the 2015 curtailment. And annual short-term water delivery suspensions create operational challenges for us as well. And the potential curtailment actions by the regional board impacts the city's ability to deliver drinking water consistently to our growing community. The sole source is at risk of unavailability during natural disasters, acts of terrorism, and during the annual herbicidal treatment. Next slide. Okay, so I made this chart for myself when we were looking at all of our options for the alternative water supply. I just needed to have something that showed how likely things are to get to completion, how long is it gonna take, and I wish I could get cost in here. I do have cost for some stuff, but not enough. So we have our riparian water rights. That is almost complete. We are also working on a wastewater change petition, which could potentially be used with our aquifer storage and recovery. We're consistently working with SSJID to maintain a relationship for emergency water. We also have a raw water storage at the water treatment plant, our ASR well, and Wickland Cut, and on down the line, things become less likely. So to talk about the recycled water, we've completed a change order petition application. We're working with HGR over the next few months to investigate whether or not we can use recycled water from the change petition for the aquifer storage and recovery well. That could make a grant opportunity look very attractive. So we're looking into that. It would be indirectly, it would come through the distribution system, so it's not like we're taking wastewater and putting it down into the aquifer. And so these efforts would be in parallel with the aquifer storage and recovery well design and grant efforts. And again, our riparian water rights. Oops, I'm sorry. We have our riparian water rights. So a lot of the northern side of the town is, has property along Old River. And so those properties have riparian water rights in a total of about 2,570 acre feet. We also have our Wickland Cut project that we've been working on for quite some time. We've made a few trips to Washington DC with BBID and our lobbyist Foley. We've entered into a cost share agreement for $1 million to work through the feasibility study and apply for the WaterSmart grant, which unfortunately didn't go through. This project is a phased approach, taking anywhere between 5 and 10 years and roughly $50 million. It is kind of a moving target right now with the project description somewhat changing kind of frequently. We also have our Tracy tie-in. There's a technical memo that's been completed. There's either a 12-inch connection or a 16-inch connection possible. We would be a recipient of the water. We don't have enough capacity to give water to Tracy to supplement them in any of their emergencies, so we would just be a recipient. We also have Sites Reservoir and Semi-Tropic. Sites is pretty exciting. It's been in the news a lot lately. It's 1.5 million acre-feet capacity. I think the cost was like roughly $1,200 per acre-foot. The project, I believe, starts or would be completed in 2029, 2030. So we're on the list with that. We're not an official member and we don't have an allocation of water, but we're definitely on the list to communicate with them. Okay, so our aquifer storage and recovery. So this is the meat of the presentation. So we completed an evaluation for emergency water in 2018. So over that time, we've worked on all of these water supply options and have found that the aquifer storage and recovery is the most viable option for us. The recommendation was to explore that, and that's what we're planning on doing. So the project will build upon the previous studies, and it will find a suitable location for the ASR well, with the ultimate goal of storing 3,200 acre-feet, which is roughly a 6-month supply under curtailment conditions at full build-out. We're hoping to get 2,000 gallons per minute back from the well to supply to the distribution system. The location of the ASR well would be as close to the distribution system as possible to reduce any pipeline size, because that's just added cost and friction. And you know, if we're successful with one ASR well, we'll keep working on building another one, hopefully building up to like 2 or 3 for the total storage of the 3,200 acre-feet, hopefully 1,000 acre-feet per well. So we went through a hefty procurement process. We sent out requests for proposals January 13 of 2025. It included the scope of work, minimum qualifications, evaluation criteria, and we wanted to see some references. We had interviews March 31st and selection interviews May 25th, and Woodard and Kern was chosen as the most responsible party to move forward with this project. So just to discuss a little bit, the groundwater sustainability plan for the Tracy Subbasin was completed a few years ago, and this plan took a culmination of all of our aquifer data and put it into one book, basically, one plan. So within that plan, there is a lot of data on the groundwater aquifer, and there's continuous updates to this plan. So as more wells are drilled, more data will come in and fill in the missing pieces. Just like the DWR well that was just drilled at the drinking water treatment plant indicated that there is Corcoran clay all the way to that extent of our valley. So grant funding will be sought after every step of the way, doing everything we can to reduce the financial impact to the community. The very first step is going to be a desktop study, which will be performed to vet out most viable locations for the ASR well. The proposed team will use the Department of Water Resources widely accepted C2V SIM hydraulic model, which is basically, that's kind of a picture of it right now. It has taken every well data that is available since wells were constructed and have been able to put them into a model so that you can see where the water levels are. The blue is not water, that's sand. So this is soil conditions. So those are not areas of water, those are just sand, just to make that clear. It does look like water. So once they find a suitable land, they will drill 2 test holes, and they'll use extensive downhole geophysics and sophisticated groundwater modeling to find where the most successful place for water storage and recovery can go. The field exploration techniques are coupled with extensive downhole studies It will address concerns about the capacity, salinity issues, geochemical compatibility, and concerns about regional groundwater gradients. So, the first phase is to drill the 2 test wells. Yes, and then they'll be converted to monitoring wells if they're successful. And the monitoring wells are used to manage the operation of the aquifer storage and recovery well so that you can see where that water is moving and to track it. So here's a picture of the tool. It's like an MRI machine. Once they drill the test well, they'll send this piece of equipment down the test hole. It measures mobile water molecules in unconsolidated sediments. You compare results with other direct methods like falling head tests, refine aquifer productivity values, and identify poor productivity zones. This will significantly reduce project costs by identifying optimal well screen intervals. So you can see the picture on the right is what that piece of equipment produces. So this is an aquifer storage and recovery well in Roseville. We went up there and checked that out. It was pretty interesting. Once the design is 100% complete, the city will procure a well driller. The proposed consultant will implement advanced water quality monitoring and management protocols to address the potential for biological clogging, pH, and conductivity control, along with geochemical interactions between injected and native groundwater. It's critical that the recharge source is compatible with groundwater and aquifer sediments. They will also use our hydraulic model to ensure seamless integration with the ASR and our distribution system. And it'll have the versatility of entering into either pressure zone 1 or 2. And the hydraulic modeling will ensure that the distribution system is evenly balanced. So both assets are unified in operation, and this will avoid costly modifications to the distribution system or any maintenance issues. And as soon as we're done with this well, we'll begin planning for the next ASR well. So here's our costs. The first 6 tasks are what we're gonna do first, and then 7, 8, and 9 will be revisited once we have an idea of the potential ASR well. And the cost of the drilling the ASR well is not included in this contract. So again, we'll be seeking grant funding. There are lots of opportunities right now and more to come. Not only does this contract require seeking grant funding, we are also working with our lobbyists, and there's a contract before you tonight for that as well. We'll also seek loans from the State Revolving Fund or Infrastructure State Revolving Fund. And in addition to that, Mountain House Developers is conditioned to furnish an alternative water supply. So once we get some good numbers, we'll begin negotiations with them as well. So again, I have my staff recommendation for you to authorize the city manager to execute agreement A2526-35 with Woodard and Curran in the amount of $4,810,911 plus a 10% contingency of $481,091.10 for a total of $5,292,002.10 for grant funding support, environmental clearance, engineering design, land acquisition support, project management, and construction of 2 test wells and associated monitoring wells for the aquifer storage and recovery. So we're also looking to approve a budget adjustment for $1.8 million from the Orion Endpoint and the Alternative Water Supply Project to fund the aquifer storage and recovery project. And also authorize the city manager to take all the necessary actions to implement the purpose and intent of this resolution. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
If I could just jump in for 1 second
Sure.
to try to translate a little bit. I think we've talked a lot about water supply in the past, and as Karen mentioned, we have all these different alternatives we've been looking at. And there's certainly some risk with an ASR well because there's no guarantee. None of us know what it looks like under the ground. And both the most optimistic and the most negative hydrologists are still just going on their best guesses. And so there's certainly an element of risk, but we have a lot of, as Karen mentioned, there's been a lot of work done in this basin to look to see where there's the opportunities for this. And we just had a test well at the plant that indicated there's more clay soil, which is better for these aquifers than we thought. So there's bring more positive information about being able to find something nearby than what we've had in the past. And so, yes, there's risk, but I think for all of you, I think all of you, all but one of you were here back in 2015, and I think all of you were here in 2021 when the state frankly violated their own laws and in one case did take our water, and the other case almost took our water away, despite the fact that we had pre-1914 rights that should not have been touched in the first place. And so on the regulatory side, if you look at all the other options that we're reviewing other than ASR, every other option up there, all of which are fairly expensive, some of which are lower risk as to whether we're going to get the water or not, but in every other case, we're at the whim of the state of California, federal government, or both on whether or not we actually get that water in a drought year. One of the reasons we're willing to take this risk on the ASR well is, one, we think we've done enough due diligence that this initial process is worth it, and two, this is our water that we've treated, we've stored, and no one at the state can cut off the spigot. This is our water. And so when we're weighing all the different options for our community, and there's nothing we can do about the fact that our friends at the county didn't mandate a second source of water back in 2000. That's water under the bridge, under the freeway, so to speak. Take into account that I don't think there's any other option that we can choose that, if it works, gives us a higher probability of being able to protect and have local control. And I also think that at the end of the day, there's been a lot of cost numbers thrown around. None of these are cheap, but I don't think this cost is extraordinary as many of the other options either. You know, we're looking at $5 million and then another $8 million for the initial aquifer storage. And Karen, talk a little bit more about what the additional cost would be as we expand out to up to a 6-month supply.
Yeah, the wells are like $1 million, maybe $1.2 million. And once you already have the system in place, you'll have to have some chemical feed adjustments and some monitoring going on, but it would be set up to accommodate all of that, you know, planning for the future. So. But yeah, the control over our water is a really big thing because we don't have to ask anybody for it. We just turn it on.
All right, council questions, starting with Green and then Vice Mayor.
I did a lot of reading into this whole thing. If you want to know, Jody, you know I take a lot of notes. I have a lot of questions. I'm very concerned about the risk. I remember, well, I read the previous reports from 2018, which suggested that we do the wells. However, we're in 2025 now, and it is very, very expensive. I do understand things have gone up over the years, but the risk part, because if we spend all this money to dig the well, there is no guarantee that we will find water. And I read somewhere where something was done before, but the water that was found was salt water from the bay. And so if that happens again, or can you speak to that?
So with the aquifer storage and recovery well, we're not looking for water. We're not looking for high quality water. We're looking for space and porosity. So honestly, saltier the water is, the better it is for us because it helps maintain the bubble of fresh water. So going down 1,500 feet into the aquifer below the Corcoran clay into some high saline water will create a nice bubble, and we'll just keep poking that bubble with more wells until we can make a really big one. So I feel very confident that this is going to be successful. We have neighbors who have ASR wells. The city of Lathrop is putting one in. The city of Tracy has one. Roseville, I think, has 6 or 10. So it's something that's happening in our valley, in our aquifer now that's been successful. And they do these all over the place. They're in Arizona, they're in Southern California, in places where there is, seriously droughts and very low water supply. So it is a very risky, but we'll know what we're facing once we drill the first test wells.
I want you to speak to the risk.
The risk? Well, once we drill the test wells, if they do their monitoring and it proves to not be viable, then we move on.
And why wouldn't it be viable?
If either it's too much clay, too much silt, not enough porosity to be able to push water in there, but there's water already in there. So you're just scooting that out of the way and pushing the water that we want in there. So,
Okay, I probably have a couple of more, but I'll yield to some of the other council members.
You can answer a couple more.
No,
All right, go ahead.
if I'm the next person, many of the questions that she's asked are the ones that I have. I'm interested in risk mitigation. You said that if we dig a couple of wells, and at that point, a lot of money, millions of dollars have been spent. So I want to know the risk mitigation there, and I think you were getting ready to get into that. And for this project, which is very costly and it's an expensive project, who is, and maybe they'll speak later, who are the SMEs on this that, the credibility that feel real good? You said you felt really good about it. However, if the way the presentation was given, we're up close to maybe about $3 or $4 million, and there's still margin for error. So I'm interested in the risk mitigation there. You know, when do we cut our losses if something doesn't happen right? And I'm not really comfortable with all of the other steps that could have been taken prior to going to this endeavor. I know in 2028, when I was around when this was thought about or ventured before, we had to abandon the project because it didn't go well with digging. And to me, nothing's changed that much. So I'm really concerned with the risk involved in this.
so the first part of the project is to do that desktop study. So they'll review all of the information that they already have, which is significant. For the last 50 or 60 years, we've been collecting well data. So there is information underground about water quality and about where those water sources are. So the desktop model is going to be the first step to find a viable location of land. And then when they drill the test well and put this basically MRI machine down the well, we'll go with that data. And if it doesn't prove to be viable, then that's a stopping point. And we can come back and ask, do you want to continue? Or this project is just stopped.
The next part of on this desktop study, is there a dollar amount or a time element in there where you would decide that this is a no-go? Have you put a cap on a decision, you know, a decision table of when we get to X number of dollars, it's time to back down or what? But you need to know that this is this project is a concern for me, and it's quite a bit on not a for sure.
So I feel very confident that we're going to be successful with this project, and our hydrogeologist at Woodard and Kern does as well. With all of the other wells that have been drilled in the area recently, it shows that there is a really good potential that this is going to be successful. So I just feel like the risk is low. Our professionals feel like the risk is low. This is our most viable project that we've gotten to the finish line in the last 8 years. So it just feels like this one made it to the finish line first. It's the most economically responsible and has the highest probability of success.
Okay, so
And it gives control over our water. If we're in an emergency and we have to ask water from another entity, that puts us in a very vulnerable situation.
okay, so are you the SME on this?
I'm sorry?
Are you the SME on this?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay, so it's on your shoulder.
It's on my shoulders, yes. I wouldn't feel comfortable bringing this forward if I didn't think it would work. And I've been a drinking water well operator for 25 years. I've physically operated over 115 drinking water wells. So this is something I'm incredibly comfortable with.
And have they all been very successful in the past
Of
with
course
no
not.
hiccups?
No, you always have hiccups, but that's what you learn during those hiccups, and you avoid doing those same things moving forward. And technology has advanced significantly. There's one really neat project, thing about this project. In a gravel pack, it's usually gravel. It's a specific size gravel depending on the studies that you do for the well, so the water will move from the aquifer into the well and back. They use glass beads instead because it's a perfect size, and you don't have so much constriction and moving of those gravels when you're pushing water in and out. And then they also have a really intense cleaning process that they do after the drilling to make sure all of the drilling mud comes out of the well, because the drilling mud can encourage bacterial growth and clogging, and that's really bad. There's a whole lot of work that's been done recently in perfecting aquifer storage and recovery wells, and Woodern and Kern has been on the leading edge of that.
Who's next? Back to, how about this go?
So what are the chances of building this in local farming operations, tapping into it by over watering from their wells? Is there any room for bleed or anything like that into the water table for the?
So our aquifer, we have an upper principal aquifer and a lower principal aquifer, and that Corcoran clay I talk about is kind of like a mason jar lid on that lower aquifer. Irrigation pumpers aren't going to want to spend the money to drill very deep, they just need to hit water. So those are all very shallow wells, and that's where a lot of the contaminated water is. So we'll go below that, below the Corcoran clay, into a more secure area.
Thank you.
So on your report, you had other options also. Go back.
Am I going the right way? That?
Right. So under the red line where it says City of Tracy tie-in, all these other options, are we not pursuing those options anymore? We're
No,
just
we
going
are.
with this? Because that's what I want to see. Because
Yeah.
now, Karen, I think you do an excellent job with this whole water situation. And I've talked to you about it before, and it is a major concern for, I'm sure, all of us in the community. So it is important that we get this, but we need to make sure that we are getting the best option. And, if we can do 2 or 3, that would be great. But I don't want to feel like we're putting all our eggs in one basket with just this storage space. But I want to make sure that we're continuing to look at other options also, So that's why I want to ask, are these still viable options? Are we still looking to tie into Tracy? What's it called?
We're in the process on the wastewater right now. Yes.
Hetchy.
Well, Hetchy, no.
That's not an option
Are you
anymore.
talking a Hetchy or SSJID?
Well, because Hetchy, that's who Tracy ties into, correct? And so if we were able to tie into their pipe, we would be able to tie into.
It's SSJID. They have, yeah, they've got SSJID water, which comes from the Stanislaus River, I believe, into Woodward Reservoir. I don't know about the Hetchy part, but
With Tracy, we're only looking at emergency water supply. We can't really tie into Tracy. I think the whole Los Banos, I don't think we're able to get down to that reservoir by Los Banos anymore either, based on, we've looked, it's such a complicated world, figuring how you get the water delivered here, and you've got both state and federal authorities, and it'd be real simple to get water from Los Vaqueros, but not with the complications that the state and the feds throw into the mix.
I was
So
going to
that's
ask
the
about
problem.
that next, from Contra Costa, Los Vaqueros.
Los Vaqueros,
Yes.
there's water available, it's right there, we can feel it. SSGID has some potential ways they could deliver it to us, but it's a bureaucratic challenge more than it is a technical challenge, right, Karen, at this point in
Yeah.
time? And that's again why we think the ASR is an important part of this, because in every other case, it's somebody with a pen who can say no to every other single source of this water in one other way, shape, or form. Whereas this is our water, we're just storing.
What's the time frame on this?
4 years?
4 years.
Which is why we're continuing to work with SSGID in the meantime, because they're the short-term source. Nothing, They have the water now, they can deliver it to us, so as we're going through all these different options, the SSGID solution is our short-term emergency solution, just as it was in 2015 and 2021.
So the gentlemen that I see in the audience, they're here from,
Woodard and Kern. We have Mike Matson, the principal engineer, and then Jim Blank, the hydrogeologist, the principal hydrogeologist, senior principal hydrogeologist.
so I take it they have a lot of experience?
Yes, yes.
Everything's always went well, no lawsuits, no, I mean, let's check the company too, right?
Yes,
So, I'm pretty sure you guys have done your homework. I'm just asking. I want to,
they're a very professional,
I want to see a
well-known
confident
firm.
look on those faces out there. Oh, confidence. Thank you. You guys should all sat together. But seriously, I do think that it is, again, one of those decisions that feel like my back is against the wall, and it's something that has to be done. I can't say if this is the best option or not. I rely on your opinion when I look at how much it cost. And, I still wonder why we didn't do it in 2018. I didn't hear the end part of Vice Mayor what her statement was, or why we didn't do it in 2018, but it's just so much money.
Can I speak to the cost?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if we wanted to put another storage tank, like we have at College Park or the drinking water treatment plant, those can only hold maybe 3.5 million, and they cost probably, $25 million?
Now, probably?
Yeah.
15, I think we paid 15 for the, way back in the day, for the
Okay.
storage tanks in College Park. So they're about 1/10 of what we're looking at,
So-
storage-wise for this.
Below ground, it's an endless reservoir. There's no dam, there's no pumps except for the one that we put in there, and that water is ours. It's free storage. No one's charging us to put it down there. No one's making us pay rent, and we're not paying anybody or asking anybody to pull it back. So it is a very fiscally responsible way to store water. Because if we tried to build a reservoir to store 3,200 acre feet, I mean, it just would be impossible. We had a creek project that we're looking at. It's on the bottom of the list for a reason. We had talked about doing a 4-leaf clover-shaped reservoirs right off of Grant Line Road, and that was $25,000 an acre foot. That is why it's on the bottom of the list.
Tell them what that translates out, what normal, even like these major reservoirs are maybe 1,000 an acre foot, and
Yeah.
that would have been
Yeah, like the
25,000.
new one that they're putting is 1,200 acre feet, the site's reservoir.
Nothing is cheap anymore. It would have been, back in 2000, if we had a time machine, there's a lot we could have done back then, and our friends in Manteca, Tracy, and Lathrop are all benefiting from that, but we are not.
This is also forever. This is going to last 50 years. Wells last 50 years when they're properly maintained. So once we put this in, it's good for your grandkids, hopefully.
I'm not sure who's next. Does it say on here? Seat 4. Who's seat 4?
You said properly maintained while you're deciding what seats we're in. When you say if things are properly maintained, let's talk about maintenance.
So part of the contract is for Woodard and Kern to train the operations staff, because you need to know what you're doing and you need to know how to troubleshoot. So that's going to be part of it. I mean, with everything, there's going to be hiccups. I mean, when you buy a vehicle, you have to change the oil, and you might get a flat tire here and there. So there's always going to be things that you need to do, but preventative maintenance is key. I'm huge on preventative maintenance rather than repair. So the well needs to be exercised, it occasionally needs to be cleaned, flushed. So you just do those things and you pay attention to the operational numbers that you're getting so you know when to time those types of things out. Because you can see it's starting to get clogged as pressure changes and flow reduces, then it's time to clean.
Okay, and what does that dollar amount guesstimate look like when you say maintenance?
It's operations staff. It's not like you bring a contractor in to clean it. The operations staff just do, existing resources. They follow the operation plan. And it'd be Infomark who will run the well.
What are the contamination risks for arsenic and,
Like from contaminating the aquifer or the water getting contaminated in the aquifer?
both?
Okay, it's highly unlikely that we'll contaminate the aquifer because we're putting drinking water down to the well. You have to have clean drinking water. You can't use stormwater or, wastewater or anything like that. It has to be clean drinking water. So we're not risking the aquifer storage and recovery well. We're actually benefiting the groundwater supply. And by doing the water quality data testing that needs to be done, you need to kind of match the groundwater quality when you put it down as far as like pH, because you don't want to accidentally encourage chemicals to precipitate out of the soils and into the water, because then you are going to bring up arsenic, uranium, and things you don't want to. So constant monitoring, constant sampling, and pH adjustments, watch the conductivity so you know we're not pulling up salt.
And then what are the, as far as the like hydraulic side of things, like the uncertainties of where we're putting water in and what's going to sustain the pressure and things like that? What are the risks associated there with the actual infrastructure of the aquifer area that we choose?
When you take the water from the drinking water system, our pressure is probably about 65 or 70. And you'd have to push the water down into the ASR well, and it's less efficient to push down than it is to pull it back up. Ask your question again, please.
So like, what are the hydraulic uncertainties of, putting this into what we think is a good storage underneath that clay level and either pressurizing or depressurizing and having collapse down there that blocks some of our base?
So the aquifer is like solid sand. There's not big pockets in there, so there's nothing that can collapse. So if you just think about taking a straw of water and trying to fill up a bowl of sand, it just kind of mingles out and then you pull it back in.
And then what are the risks of clogging and things down there, and what does it look like? Aside from what we can do at the surface with staff, at what point do we have to send in specialists to go down and actually, is it re-drilling, is it?
No, if anything, you would need to maybe do a chemical scrubbing to keep the screens cleaned, which can be done by a well driller or a pump company. And then maybe jetting or swabbing. They sometimes will put like a bristle brush down the well and scrub it, and then they push the water in and out to clean the screens off and then pump that out to waste.
Because when you say clay and sand, I think concrete underground, right? So,
No,
okay.
that would not be very, very good.
Anybody else?
Yes, I have a,
Yeah.
yeah. During the desktop, if we find out during the desktop evaluation that things aren't going well or it doesn't seem to work, have we thought about what the contingency plan would be then?
We'll have to keep moving forward with the other projects.
You said the other projects.
Yeah, the big list of projects. We'll keep scooting all of those forward.
In the context of that project, though.
So basically, we cut our losses and stop, is what she's
Yeah.
saying.
Right, that's what I get, we cut our losses and stop, but that doesn't stop everything, so that's why I'm asking what would the contingency plan would. We don't cut our losses and just forget it totally, because water is important. I was kind of interested in the back of your mind, do you have a plan if then? If this doesn't work, then what is the contingency plan?
So if the aquifer storage and recovery doesn't work, we'll keep working on the other projects that we have up there. Wickland Cut, the Tracy tie-in. We're still working on all of those right now anyways. But it would be pretty devastating if this didn't work.
You telling me. Okay, but I'm glad to hear that no matter what, even going, if we went through with this, then all the other plans, we still go forward on those.
Diversity.
Disco?
Where exactly on the map is the proposed target?
So
Is it Wickland Cut edge of town?
I have a map. Let me see if I can show you. Oops.
And then who is the land acquisition coming from?
That's not 100% sure yet. Our developer, Mike Sandu, I believe, owns quite a bit of property around the city of Mountain House. This isn't a very good map. But in between Mountain House and Tracy, Stronum Road was, I believe, one of the sites that the 2018 study said would be one of the best locations, but we've got more data since then. They're also looking at the water treatment plant as well, which would significantly reduce the cost of the pipeline because it would be right there at the plant.
Historically, though, hasn't the Coral side or Corral side been the wiser place to target?
Closer to Tracy, yeah, between us and Tracy. But
So not MW1A or 2A and their subsets, but all the way down MW5 and 6 or 7? Sorry, I know it's not very legible.
It's too small for me to see. Oh. Does it actually point? Okay, so we're thinking right here. Because this is Mountain House right here, right?
Okay.
So right in there.
Yeah, I see it. I know, I like stretching my neck.
Anybody else? Public comments. Public is invited to make comments on this item. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Is that working? Is it on? Just start talking.
So I just went through this 2018 report, right? So what is the capacity of this ASR? Because we have a population in 2018 was defined for 40,000. So we approved more number of people. Now we may end up at 65,000. So what is the capacity that we are deciding? And also the number 3,000 something that is based on the 2018 report, that's for the 40,000 population.
No, I think she said it was based on full build-out. So it's a 6-month supply for a full build-out.
But that number is same in 2018 report, which is said that 50,000, but our population will be more than 60,000.
You know what? That's 20 years down the line. I have no idea what the population.
Be here, I'd like the answer.
Well, but I mean, it's a guess whether we're at 50 or 60,000. But you're talking about, instead of having a 6-month of supply, we have 5.5-month supply. I mean, it's.
That is one thing. And the second thing is, in the 2018 report, they gave 3 sites, right, out of which the first site is the WTP, water treatment plant. The second one is the Van Susten, and the third one, I think they said no. So the only 2, and the first one, they said that near to the treatment plant. So they have some issue with the water quality, so they said the only option was the second, right? So you are mentioning about the WTP, that near to the water treatment plant, so that will reduce the cost. But in the recommendation, it said that the water quality may not be good. So that is another one. I was taking a look onto that. And the other one is, you're putting all the water inside. What about the earthquake, right? So what is the chances of you hitting an earthquake and losing that, whatever storage you have?
Karen?
From my understanding of earthquakes, the lower you are inside the earth, the safer it is, just from the caving experiences that I've had. But other than that, I don't think an earthquake would have a big impact 800 feet below ground. And there's, like, again, nothing to collapse. It's like sand and silt. There's no voids or pockets like a cave, so there's really nothing to collapse.
Okay, thank
And
you.
from a build-out standpoint, even though our potential, we're at about 30,000 now, we're at half build-out, but we haven't built more of a lot of the lower occupancy houses haven't been built yet. And as we've updated our studies for population, we're still well under what we're projecting as a potential supply, because everything's now low-flow toilets. All the newer houses are having minimal irrigation. So we're very confident that, when we're looking at our total build-out water supply, we've got room. Not to mention that now that we've secured our riparian rights in non-drought years, we've increased our capacity by about 25% during that time. We have additional water we can tap into north of Byron now. But we're not worried about build-out at all, based on our last couple projections.
All right, another public comment, Nader?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I have a couple of comments to make in this regard. I think staff has done a great job looking at various options for alternative sources of water, emergency water. I think all the ones that they've looked at are options that are valid. I think there were some statements were made that I think may not be as accurate, because based on the information we had in 2018, they're probably more accurate, but with the new wells that have been drilled, the one that was at the water treatment plant shows that there's Cochrane clay layer, but it's very thin. It's embedded in a larger regular clay, but below that, there aren't a lot of sand pockets, which is what you actually need for the ASR to work. So I don't believe, based on information that I looked at and I discussed with the engineer that did the study and also is in charge of the Tracy Sub-Basin study that they're doing, they don't think that that's a very good option because pocket layers are very small, the sand layers. It is known that the farther east and south you go, the better quality of aquifer exists where you can put an ASR, and that was something that was considered in 2018 as well. The farther you go closer to Tracy by Byron and Van Soston, that area, you can probably get a pretty good ASR. The problem is the cost of the pipe and the pumping that's required to pump it from that point into Mountain House. And part of the reason that in 2018 we didn't go forward was the issue of the cost, because the initial cost of the ASR wasn't as high as it is now, but because we didn't have these two wells, so we didn't have a lot of information, and to drill additional wells to get that information was expensive, so we kind of let that go. However, DWR has drilled several wells, and they're planning on doing more in the area, so that will give us a lot more information as knowing where it would be the best location for those. One statement was made that the ASRs can hold up to 1,000 acre-feet. That is not an accurate statement because Cedar Tracy, I think the best they've done is 700 acre-feet, and an average, even in that area, would be between 500 to 700 feet. If we did a well in Mountain House, we would be lucky to get 250 acre-feet, just based on the information. Again, until you actually drill the well and test it, you don't know. And I'm not saying that that is the answer. Based on the information I have and I've heard from the experts, that's what that would be. With regards to storing water in an ASR versus storing at the treatment plant with a storage tank, that is true. The storage tank, steel storage tanks above ground are more expensive, but the developers are conditioned to build those. So one option would be to have the developers, instead of the additional tank that is required at the water treatment plant, to fund this and basically do the work for Mountain House. That's basically what I was going to add. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Or
I do have a question, because I read the report from 2018, and I was very surprised that I saw your name on the report. So your opinion is very important to me. I'm glad you came here tonight. So you said a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, and again, like I said, I think staff has done a great job looking into this and evaluating all the options. It's just I don't think this project, for the cost and the risk that it has, personally, I don't think it's a very good option.
So what would be? I mean, to say that this isn't a good option, you have to have another opinion or recommendation.
Mountain House is looking at above-ground storage, which is available. It doesn't provide the volume of the water that ASR provides, but that's one option. Another option is also purchasing water from other agencies, which I think city is looking to negotiate with SJID. So that would be another backup, plus purchasing water rights from other entities that may have that in case of a curtailment, which is not likely to happen after what happened in 2015 and then 2021. Those are some options that, in my opinion, are more, at this point, more valid. If we have more information from the DWR test wells, a few years down the road that shows, half a mile, quarter of a mile from Mountain House, that's the best location. At that point, it would cost us less to develop those than for us to spend $5 million, $5.3 million to do this, to studies the environmental, the permitting process, and then the risk of spending a portion of that at least, and not having a well that works or coming to a point where it doesn't work. I think that is, should be taken.
Okay. Any other public comments at this point?
Thank you.
If not, I'll bring it back to the council for discussion. Green? Nothing to say? Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Oh, I just want to say that I appreciate all the work that's been done on this and the comments that have been made. I don't think that I'm ready to move forward on this. But of course, I'm only one vote. There's too many unknowns for me and not enough, to me, thought-out contingencies and risk analysis to go with it. And I would hate to spend upward of $1 million on a desktop exercise and find out it's not good. And so, and if there's time to just think about this a little, not so much think about it, but just research a little bit more and feel more comfortable with it. But I'm not.
I have a question, actually. I woke up. Just
You
kidding.
weren't asleep.
The other option, the SSJID option, right? That is an option that we, just like last time, we bought water from them.
Correct.
Are we able to buy an option from them? Like, in case of something, we're able to buy 3,200 square what? Acre feet?
We're working on it. It's, again, I mean, the challenge with all these is the state at any point in time could say, we don't agree with your methodology. You know, we are pursuing an agreement with SSGID, but as you know, it was a very creative solution that we received from SSGID. And we've already gotten, for example, some pushback from the state about, well, you have to net that out. You're not taking into account loss of water as it gets from, the east side of the county over to us. There's all those risks. The state at some point in time could just say no. There's nothing that we could do about it. And I know that BBID feels comfortable that we're never going to get curtailed again. And again, if the state was following the law, that's great. We probably won't get curtailed again if the state actually follows the law. But that's not been the state's modus operandi up to this point in time. And let's face it, to be honest, the state's goal is to eliminate all water rights. And then they play Solomon, so to speak, on who's going to get water and when. And that's the reality of, that is their end game. No matter what you say, everything you see happening at the state level is to try and take away all of our local ability to do deals and to secure water. They want to have complete control over water, and they want to continue to do this very fuzzy math that probably underestimates the amount of available water in the Delta by at least 50%. One thing I've learned working on and off most of the last 30 years in this county is that when it comes to water interests, the state, we are the stepchild when it comes to the state and when it comes to how we're treated in any water transaction. And like I said, just trying to get water from Los Vaqueros is virtually impossible without the federal government, who's now, is the feds, I think, that have their so-called white paper that's not adopted by anyone, but they've said, well, this paper we wrote where we found the only guy in Northern California who agrees with our methodology says there's not enough water in the Delta, so you can't get from A to B. I think that's the big challenge we have. So we are going to continue to negotiate with SSGID because we have no other options in the short run. But long run, I would hate to depend on that. Just as I would hate to depend on any of these, quite frankly. And I understand there's issues with timing, but I've been here for 6 years now, and we need to get moving on some of these things. And we do have some, we've got the riparian rights. That doesn't help us in dry years, but it does help us on capacity and the ability to store because we have this extra water technically now, although there's lots of caveats to that. And we are going to perfect our rights at the wastewater plant, which again is great in years where we're not getting curtailed. But we will always have this challenge between May and October of the state coming in and deciding, you know what, we're going to cut you back to where we'll give you just enough water to survive and every tree in town is going to die. I don't think they'd ever completely cut us off, but they would put us in a position to pretty much destroy everything else in Mountain House in 1 year in the process and create a lot of wildfire risks and everything else. Because we've been through this 2 years ago, all these negotiations with the state on what is our baseline demand, no matter what.
Go ahead.
Nader, can I ask you a question real quick? Can you come back up, please? Because you said that you felt like there would be better areas more to the east for the wells. So for you're not against them. Are you just talking about location?
Correct. I think ASRs are a good option. I just don't think they're a good option in the vicinity of Mountain House. And the farther east and south you go, based on the information that's available, you have a better quality of aquifer where there's more sand pockets, larger sand pockets where you can store the water. The two wells that we are looking at right now at Mountain House Water Treatment Plant and at Bethany and Wickland, those don't show a very good sand pockets large enough for what we're looking at. The one at the Wickland and Bethany actually does have some pockets.
And that's
but
in
they're
Mountain
not.
House?
It's just outside of Mountain House, yes. It could be within Mountain House, in that area, I mean, but that test well is outside of the Mountain House's limit, but it is close enough that the aquifer could show that it would work. The problem is it won't be able to, based on what they have so far, doesn't seem like you'd be able to store 500, 700, or 1,000 acre feet there. Based on what the hydrologist told me, we would be lucky to get 250 acre feet in that, because there's some pockets in there that are large enough to store water, but not a lot of them.
Okay, so if hypothetically, we don't know what's going to happen with the Delta Tunnel or whatever, because what I'm hearing from staff is that we really want to have our own storage area where no one can come and say, hey, that's our water, or they're going to divert any of the water to anywhere other than Mountain House.
Sure.
That's what you guys are saying? Is that what you're saying? Because control over our own water. So with that being said, it's just a matter of location. It's not a matter of what they're proposing. It's more of a matter of location, because are the other recommendations that are being said, because now we're at cost, right? So the cost, it's not about the cost or not about the storage, but more so about the location.
Well, the location, like I said, it has to do with the quality of aquifer, and the farther east you go, it's better, but then that also increases the cost. So my thought is ASRs are a good option, but not necessarily as the first option. In 2018, we were looking at that, and because we didn't have some of these other options that we're looking at that are available now, like the city manager mentioned, storage of water at Las Vegas. That option is available. We just have to work out the details and make sure we get approvals from DWR that, yeah, if you store this water, we can take it anytime we want. If we can get that from them, that's a good option. But it's not, yeah,
Okay,
they haven't budgeted yet.
can you speak to that? Because I want to hear the pros and the cons. I want to hear the risk, the pros, the cons, if it's going to be the same amount of money, whether we move it to the east or we keep it at the water treatment facility plant. What's the best viable option?
Council members, so I think it's important to point out, so while we have the 2018 study there, right, we have new information. You know, from the recent drilling from the state, we've seen what some of the farmers have done here. So we have new information, okay? Karen pointed out some pros and cons. We like to keep it near distribution, keeps the cost down, less miles of pipeline, right? It's important for us to get started. That's the whole point of this project. It includes that feasibility analysis. The control over our own water is priceless. That's what we're looking for, and that's the gain with this project. The risk is, in the feasibility analysis, if it comes back that this is bum, we're not going to be spending that whole $5 million. We're going to be able to find out earlier on in that process. But we got to start. I mean, to me, it's since 2015 we've had this information. We got to move the needle. We have to move the needle. In our contingency plan, we're working on all those endeavors. Slower than we want, but we're working on it. But again, what I love about this project is that control. No one is going to mandate, no one's going to tell us we can't have it. There's too much politics at stake. We need to have control over our own water. And so the other thing I want to emphasize is that by getting started, if we are successful, this opens the doors to grant opportunities to fund the next one and the next one. But we have to have data to support that. We have to show success. And we have a subject matter expert here. Karen has over 2 decades. If not, you know, Karen came up. So what Karen's very humble about, and I'm going to speak about her, is that she came up. She is the one that cranked. She was turning gears. She was operating wells, hands-on, not sitting in an office. You know, now she's an office person. But she came up in the field, got her bachelor's, just got her master's, okay? And something else I want to point out. This procurement process took a while for us, not because there was hesitation on our part, because quite honestly, Woodard and Kern, fantastic, but it was neck and neck. It was hard. We have a whole team of experts vying to do this job because they believe in this. So I'll be very disappointed if this project doesn't come forward tonight, and we'll do whatever the will of council is. I stand by this project.
Any,
I have a last
go
question.
ahead, Vice Mayor, and then
Oh.
Harrison.
Go on. The information that Mr. Shiragi just gave and gave the points of being in Wickland Bethany, that's outside of our control? Well, I guess I should start with, what do you think of Mr. Shiragi's explanation? But then he did say that the area that could be dug could be in the Wickland Bethany? Is that outside of the Mountain House boundaries?
It would be, well, yes, if the well was drilled outside of Mountain House boundaries, it would probably be in the Byron Bethany Irrigation District area, but not on their property. We'd be looking to purchase property.
Okay.
Is that
that's
what you're
in-
asking?
Yes, and that is, but right now, that area, is that unincorporated area where it's really
Yes.
kind of no one's area?
Crest, yeah, county.
Okay, what do you think about the information that Mr. Strege provided? Was that one of your options or some thought that you thought about, or what? Is it new information, old information, or what?
It's stuff that as a team, we talked about weekly. All of the projects that we're moving forward. Nader was very involved with all of the projects that we've been trying to move forward, including the ASR well. I believe it's going to be a little bit more successful than I think he feels it may be. But I believe that our consultants are going to do their due diligence to find the right location and not listen to where I think it should be. They'll look at the data.
Because, you know, from what I'm hearing, my understanding is the Bethany-Wickland area, that's still within our control.
We just have a sphere of influence around the
Just
city.
outside? It sounds like one phone call.
Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with the city manager, with the state too. You know, I don't really trust the state with the governor and all the shenanigans he's been pulling lately. So it wouldn't surprise me if the state tries to take away our water. But the main thing is you know what? We have staff here. We need to trust our staff. Okay, we have, Karen is an expert. And so I meant, you know, we have to also go along with our staff and their best judgment too, as we do with everything else that comes before the council. So, you know, I just like for the rest of the council to, you know, keep that in thought because like Jody says is we got to start. Okay, I mean, we've been dealing with this thing for a long time. And we need to start. And I believe with the new statistics and information they have, they feel very confident that this project will have positive results. That's it.
Green, back to you.
I appreciate what you just said at the end, and that you have consultants. It's not about not trusting, it's about wanting to be informed and getting all the information to be able to make the best decision possible. Water is very important to the city of Mountain House, and it's something that we absolutely have to have. So we don't have a lot of wiggle room to make these decisions. So to be able to ask these questions and to hear from the public, that's why we have public comments, and, you know, to just be able to make a more informed decision. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
All right, if there are no more comments, can I ask the council member to make a motion to approve staff's recommendation?
I'll make the motion, Mayor.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that motion.
Roll call, please. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Disco?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Councilmember Harrison?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Tingle? Mayor Sue?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
Let's move forward. Karen.
Hi, I'm here to talk about some more water stuff. I am actually parched myself, but I'll make it. Okay, so our next presentation here. Oh, I'm okay. I'll make it, thank you.
There, chased everybody away with that water.
Wow.
I have no idea what you said.
Okay, were you?
Going up, and that's the truth, things are gonna go up.
That's what.
Nothing's ever gone down.
Yeah.
Alrighty, on to the next presentation. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to discuss the filter media nozzle replacement project. We would like to recommend to authorize the city manager to execute the agreement A252631 with Calgon Carbon Corporation for $1,108,636 for the removal of filter bed, carbon, and sand media as part of the water plant filter media replacement project. We'd also like to authorize the city manager to execute agreement 252630 with ERS Industrial Services for $249,000. Also approve the exception to the competitive procurement process in accordance with Section 200 purchasing of the Financial Management Manual. Also to approve a budget adjustment of $800,000 from the Capital Improvement Program Facilities Repair Project to the Water Operations Fund, and authorize the city manager to take all necessary actions to implement this resolution. So again, before we get into the media, we're going to talk about water projects that we're working on. So we just saw this. I'm going to talk about our drinking water treatment plant for a little bit. Our drinking water treatment plant, we're looking at increasing flow with permit amendment. Mountain House is conditioned to fully equip the rest of the drinking water treatment plant, our riparian rights, and raw water storage at the drinking water treatment plant. So our progress here, we are working on the water treatment plant booster station. It is a rehabilitation project that Infomark has taken on. There are 4 spaces for pumps. There are 3 pumps and motors. They were pulled, inspected, rebuilt, and reinstalled. This increases efficiency significantly and makes it a lot easier for the pumping station to run at its maximum capacity. Mountain House Developers is also assisting in this because we have that one space for a new pump and motor and controls. They're also required to upsize one pump. So what we're doing right now is a study with Crollo Engineering to do an assessment of what size the pump upsize needs to be and the new pump and motor, what size that needs to be. This will ensure that we can increase our flow to the full 12.5 permitted amount that we have right now. So I thought this was a pretty interesting slide. Our current capacity at the plant is 12.5 million gallons a day. It is classified as a water treatment grade 4 plant, meaning the chief plant operator has to have a T4 State Water Resources treatment certification. And so you can see that red line there, 12.5, that's our current capacity. That's what we're permitted to flow. What we need to do is get it up to 15. If you can see over on the right-hand side, just a few weeks ago, our booster pump station was pumping out 14 million gallons a day, which is over the plant's capacity to produce. So we're pushing out more water than we can clean. So in order to go from the 12.5 to 15, we need to do an operation plan update and a permit amendment to classify the plant as a 5. And this would require that the chief plant operator is a treatment 5 certified operator. And again, this will get our flow to 15 million gallons a day. To go to 15 to the full build out of 18.2, Mountain House is conditioned to complete the plant. They are to equip the 3rd train, which I'll show you in a second. This will require an operational plan update and increase our flow capacity from 15 to 18.2. So this will give us our full flow build out.
Just to confirm, when she, call them MHD, so it's MHD, Mountain House Developers, not Mountain House that has to
I'm sorry,
increase
Mountain
the
House
capacity,
Developers.
just to be clear.
Yeah, so Mountain House Developers are to equip the 3rd
So
train.
that's part of their requirements as the master developer to increase the capacity of the plant.
So the Mountain House Developers have also contracted with Crollo Engineering. They are going to build a raw water storage pond at the plant that can hold 25 million to 30 million gallons of water. And depending on the time of year and where we are with build out, this could give us anywhere from a 3 to 11 day supply. The design 10% is due by November, and then we'll get cracking on the project and hopefully get it done within a year. Knowing that we have alternative water supplies, since they're going to be digging into the pipelines at the booster pump station, we are going to make sure that this aligns with all of our other projects that we're working on so that we're ready for that alternative water line to be added to the booster station as well, rather than going back and having to rework things again. We're trying to be efficient about this. So our drinking water plant is called a conventional filtration plant. It has parallel redundancy. The plant came online in 2007, and The filter media and plant has treated 5,525,233 gallons of water, or 16,000 acre feet. That's a lot of water. So this is kind of what the treatment system looks like. There's 3 trains. So the water is divided into 3 separate trains. They can all be operated independently, 1 offline, 2 online, however the operators need to run it. There's 1 train that's not got anything in it. It's just a concrete hole. So that train is what Mountain House developers are supposed to furnish. So you have your rapid mix and coagulation in the first box. So we will need pumps or mixers, chemical injection, and then it scoots on over to flocculation. So there's some wooden weirs that are in there that would need to be installed. And then the sedimentation basin has plate settlers that would need to be installed. Each filter is actually 2 filters. So there's going to be a total of 6. So you've got your filtration on the right-hand side, and that's what we're talking about today, needing to replace. So granular activated carbon is some pretty interesting stuff, and you have a couple of jars there if you want to pass it down the line. Granular activated carbon adsorbs. A sponge absorbs. So granular activated carbon, if you could imagine taking a big piece of paper and crumpling it up as tight as you can, that's what carbon is like. It has huge surface area. I can actually tell you how much surface area. 1 grain is between 600 and 1,200 square meters. 1 pound of that carbon has more than 35 acres of surface area, almost 100 football fields. So it has an incredible microscopic pores, and it's extremely effective at adsorbing chemicals and organics. So the activated carbon is made by putting it in a kiln and adding water and heat, and it forces the carbon to activate. It just kind of puffs up a little bit and gives it some more porosity. It does have a useful life. Backwashing, which is the process to clean the filters, causes the carbon to rub against each other, and it eventually knocks all the edges off and reduces that surface area, reducing its adsorption ability. It can be reactivated. The carbon that we have today is too broken down to be reactivated, so it's gonna have to go to a landfill. In the future, when we purchase carbon, we will plan on rejuvenating it, reactivating it, they'll store it, and then we'll buy it back, and it will significantly reduce the treatment cost. Here's another look at carbon. We know that the carbon at our plant has reached its useful life by taking some sample results. We took total organic carbon results, and we can see that it's coming through the carbon. Also, physical inspection. The carbon is supposed to be a uniform size. It's screened so that you don't end up losing it into your distribution system. You want it to stay at the filter. So again, it's rounded and it's ready to be replaced. Carbon is made from all sorts of different material. It's mined as coal. You can make it from coconut shells. Coconut shells are very good at removing taste and odor. And then wood, peat, and some other materials. So the coal that we were wanting to purchase is virgin carbon called FilterSorb 816, and it's specifically formulated and is also certified with the ANSI NSF Standard 61 and the Food and Chemical Code Index. So it is American-made and to be used as a drinking water supply treatment media. When we pull the carbon and sand out, the under drain system needs to be replaced. There's 6,300 nozzles at the bottom of the filter, and those really only last about 10 years, and they're 18 years old. If those nozzles break down, it allows the carbon to go through, and it ends up in the bottom of the clear tank, and then can get pushed out into the distribution system. So we don't want that. The plan is to change half the filters in the spring and the other half in the fall. That way we don't disrupt any supplies, and we have plenty of water to make it through the season. So we're also asking for an exception to the procurement process. These companies that do this work are very far and few between. Most of them are international companies. There are only a few in the United States. Same with the company to repair the filters. It's a highly specialized firm located near us. So when we were looking for carbon suppliers, we found 2 qualified vendors that the Infomark has found and were able to gain quotes from. They each came out and did a site visit to, take a look at the property, see what the setup and cleanup would take. And through all of this, we've chosen Calgon Carbon. They're a very internationally recognized firm. I have personally worked with them for 25 years on several different carbon change-outs, so I know that they're a successful firm. And same with the under drain replacement, ERS Industrial Services. It's a specialized firm that only really works on under drain systems and filter coatings and stuff like that. That's all they do. So we're asking for a deviation from our procurement process. And the cost, the carbon and the sand is $1,108,000, $636. I can't talk. Under drain nozzle replacements, $249,000. So for a total of $1,358,016. And with this, we're asking for a budget adjustment from facility repairs to the water operations funds in $800,000. And again, the staff recommendation is to authorize the city manager to execute the agreement with. I'm not going to. Calgon Carbon, ERS, are the competitive procurement process and the budget adjustment. Any questions?
Is that like activated charcoal?
Yes. Yeah, they use it for air scouring too.
What's the difference in the sizes?
There's supposed to be uniform size, that's spent carbon, so that's all different sizes. And if you were to pour it into your hand, you would see all sorts of dust and little round pieces. And it's supposed to be very chunky, like a piece of coal.
This recommendation or ask has been budgeted in our annual budget,
Yes, isn't it?
every dollar? Okay.
Yeah. It's in our capital. Oh, yes, it's in the capital. We just, because of our new purchasing policies, it has to be coming from our operations fund, not the capital improvement funds. So we're just scooting that money over there.
Disco?
So of this total, the 800 we would move would offset the 1.3.
Say again, I'm sorry?
Could you go back to the last slide? So item 4 here, budget adjustment of 800. So are we reallocating those funds from one bucket to another to
Yes.
cover the overarching 1.35, is it?
Yeah, there's funds in the account already. We just need to add a little bit more to
Understood.
get
Thank you.
there.
Any other questions from the council? No? All right. Why don't we ask the public if they have any comments? The public's invited to make comments on this item. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. You got nothing? All right. Let's bring it back to the council then. Any final discussion? Harrison? Vice Mayor? Green?
I'll be quick.
Disco.
So this is all planned for in our, like, this isn't going to make any effect, this isn't going to have any immediate effect on the debt utility fee. This is already in the budget for operations?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
If there are no more questions or comments, could I get a motion today?
I'll make a motion to approve 8.3.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Disco?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Councilmember Harrison?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Tingle? Mayor Sue?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
All right,
Thank you very much.
moving along. Let's go to item 8.4. Jody, what do you think? Approved Town Hall Tenant Improvement Project, office space build-out.
All right, good evening again. Let's see. Is it ready to load? All right, let's get started. Item 8.4. Our recommendation for you tonight is to approve an agreement with DD Construction for $858,000, which includes a $100,000 contingency. We're also looking for a budget adjustment of just over $593,000 between capital improvement program funds. And then lastly, we are looking for the city manager to be authorized to take all necessary actions to carry out the purpose and intent of the resolution. All right, so a little bit of background. Our footprint for Town Hall was originally designed to accommodate all our staff, and this is for our full city build-out. However, not all the tenant improvements were completed, in particular on the second floor, about 1/2 of the second floor. So now, as we have continued to grow, we've added new services, more staff, building division, utility billing, all of the above, we're starting to burst at the seams. Cubicles, office spaces, conference rooms, everything. So looking ahead, we're also looking to expand our public safety rank sheriff's office into our first floor area, which means ultimately our admin services team would be displaced to the second floor. That's always been in some of our long-term planning. All right, a little bit about the current project scope. Again, maybe just backing up a little bit, what are tenant improvements, just making sure we all understand the vocabulary, is just simply making modifications to an existing building. In particular, I want to highlight that this proposed contract is a design build, so it means one team that's doing the design and the construction, so less conflict, it means a more expeditious project, and we have a highly qualified staff person who would oversee this work, who's had many successful design build contracts. That's very important. Harold on our team, excellent, excellent, excellent. So what are we doing? Again, office spaces, more cubicles, meeting conference room. With that, to the unimproved area, that means electrical, HVAC, lighting, telecom, IT, all of the above. We also want to make sure that the finishes match what we have existing in Town Hall. That's important. A little bit about the procurement process. We issued a request for proposals in early June. We held a mandatory pre-bid meeting June 24th. Ultimately, we received 3 proposals. We received proposals from DD Construction, Paradigm, and Roblin. With an RFP, I want to remind you that this is based on qualifications and merit. Whoever can bring the best of everything. It does include cost, but cost is not the driving factor alone. Ultimately, the selection committee invited both DD and Paradigm to an interview, and DD was selected. Coincidentally, they came in with the lowest cost proposal, but DD was also selected because of their success in recently completing the Fire Station number 2 completion. A little bit about our fiscal impact. So again, just recapping, total project cost is $858,000, which already includes the $100,000 contingency. We have existing funds allocated in our CIP budget. This is with the budget that was recently approved in fiscal year 25-26. We had just a little over $4 million in the capital improvement program project called Corporation Yard Improvements. So we're simply moving, again, one pot of money to another. And again, we're looking to gain approval so we can implement this project. We'd like to get started as soon as possible. With that, we're back to the recommendation, and I won't reread it, and I'll now open it to questions.
Questions, council? Vice Mayor.
I have a question. With this project that includes the library, will there be enough money maybe for a bucket and a half, a gallon and a half of paint to paint the TH1 room in the library, since it has a new floor, the walls need painting, and also the plaster along the wall where tables were slammed against the wall, the plaster needs to be repaired. Would there possibly, out of this money, I know it's out of the scope of what you're talking about, but would there be enough for maybe a couple gallons of paint to fix the TH1 room?
Vice Mayor, we have funds already allocated for that. We'll make sure and take care of that.
Okay, thank you.
The floor is beautiful, though. They did a great job.
Any other questions? I don't see any. Public comments for Jody? Anybody have a question now? Public comment?
With the money, we are going to fix these mics and other stuff.
That hurt. That hurt a lot. Point heard. It's a mood lighting.
I'm okay. Back to the council for discussion or motion.
I'll make a motion.
I had a question first.
Go ahead.
We're gonna have like the police department downstairs and staff upstairs?
That is the intent. We will have, though, downstairs, our forward-facing customer service. We'll still keep some of our building division there, utility billing. Basically, downstairs is going to be where we have all our heavy foot traffic, customer-facing operations. But yeah, some admin staff will be moved upstairs.
But the police department will be,
They're just gonna expand to the very back of admin services.
Rona, if they get out of line, then they'll be back downstairs in the police officer's control.
All right, we have a motion.
I have a question
Another
still. When our new facility, the recreation room, and it is finished, then the recreation staff will be moving there, right? That's all taken in consideration, that part of our staff, which is a large department, will be moving to a new location. Will that open up space?
That will open up some space, so we know that ultimately rec staff will be moving to our very future community center,
That'll be ready in 5 years.
hopefully sooner.
Okay.
3
3 years?
Mhm.
You know, that's part of public record now, 3 years.
All right, there's still a motion on the table. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Roll
with
call,
the paint
please.
job.
Roll call.
Councilmember Disco?
Aye, this is an expensive meeting.
Councilmember Green?
yes.
Councilmember Harrison?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tingle?
Aye.
Mayor Sue?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
Let's move to 8.5, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute agreement for state and federal legislative and funding advocacy services. Jody? And Matt?
Oh, yeah.
Hi, yep, good evening. Yeah, as a refresher, still the newbie. So Matthew Gutierrez here, broker manager, working alongside Jody and Karen. So let's see. All right. All right, so tonight for council, I have the recommendation to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with the California Public Policy Group for state legislative and funding advocacy services through June 30th, 2028, in a total amount not to exceed $202,000. This also comes with an optional 2-year extension for an additional amount that will be budgeted in the future for $142,000. Additionally, we're requesting the authorization for the city manager to execute another agreement with Foley and Lardner LLP for federal legislative and funding advocacy services, also through June 30th, 2028, with the same optional 2-year extension. And then lastly, to authorize the city manager to take all appropriate and necessary actions to carry out the purpose and intent of these recommendations. So some background that led us here is that the city is in a pivotal stage of growth and development, and finding and securing reliable funding streams is essential to position the community for long-term success. As you have seen over the last several years and still continuing forward, the increased demands for infrastructure, housing, transportation, and public services, and these currently exceed the capacity of our local resources, which is why you hear grants and appropriations continuously. These services overall will allow us to monitor and influence legislation and regulations that impact local government. It will also allow us to pursue direct state and federal appropriations, and also advocate for policies that safeguard and matter most to Mountain House, and also to put us on the map to compete for large grant funding opportunities. So some additional background here is that we did issue an RFP May 5th this year. There were two proposals, or two RFPs, one for federal, one for state. We received a total of 6 responses, and we conducted our evaluation based off experience, expertise, and value. Following our evaluation, we selected the California Public Policy Group for state services and Foley and Lardner LLP for federal services. Both firms are here today to also show a brief presentation to talk a little bit more about what they can do for Mountain House at the end. So just real quick, we selected state and federal. I'll let them highlight the organizations, but we selected the best of both worlds, allowing us to build a comprehensive strategy at both the state and federal level, pursuing grants and not restricting ourselves from any funding that may be available to Mountain House. So something that was mentioned earlier tonight is Byron Bethany Irrigation District, BBID. Something that's very important here, even in my short time, getting familiar with all this. And both firms will be able to help us facilitate, shape water policy, be up to date, have a voice at the table at both the federal and state level when it comes to any regulatory decisions. And then also just, and that includes water rights, storage, and delivery. Here we have the fiscal impact. And again, both contracts will be an initial 3-year term. Foley and Lardner, $363,000, and then CPPG, $202,000 for that initial term, with those extensions as optional with the city manager's authority. Again, just a recommendation, we have 2 agreements here, one for Foley and Lardner LLP for federal services, and one for California Public Policy Group for our state services. Both will come with an initial 34-month term with 2 extensional options at our discretion and in the best interest of the city. And before we jump into, any immediate questions for that presentation, but I do have them to also showcase a little bit as well.
Thanks, Mayor. Questions for Foley? When's the last time that you were in DC?
They were each going to come up and give a presentation, if that's okay.
What's that?
So they were each going to get up and speak real briefly first.
So let's get started with that, and we'll have CPBG here, California Public Policy Group for our state services, and we're going to switch the slide deck here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dane Hutchings with the California Public Policy Group. Pleasure to be here this evening. I will try and be as brief as I can. Next slide, please. So just brief background about our firm. We specialize in representing local government entities and those private entities that align fully with local government. We really strive to partner with our clients. We dig into our client-specific issues. We host a series of what we refer to as deep dive meetings with your department directors to really understand the nuances of your city. I think what makes us a little bit more unique as well is that we actually have a whole group of policy and strategic advisors that are subject matter experts that help inform both our policy decisions and our funding advice for our clients. So our team consists of myself, Ethan Nagler, who is in the audience as well, and Sharon Gonzalez is our managing director. We also have another legislative advocate who just came from the Department of Housing and Consumer Community Development, who also can lend her expertise on housing and land use policy. On the funding side, we have former Deputy Executive Director of the League of California Cities, Dan Carrig, who was the revenue and taxation lobbyist for 10 years, specializes in economic development and housing and land use. Jake Whitaker, who is our Director of Grant Services. So we'll be working with the city to advise on technicalities of the projects, helping advise on narratives, and we'll be meeting with the city every quarter to assess projects and match those up with specific viable grant opportunities. Bruce Rudd, former city manager of the city of Fresno, who is now a strategic advisor, anything from top to bottom on transportation, infrastructure, water. Bruce knows that it can certainly be, lend his technical expertise as part of our team. Again, really highlighting our approach, we really do try and partner with our clients to understand the policies that are most impactful to our city clients. We try to assess each piece of policy not only through a policy lens, how is it going to impact your local discretion in decision-making, but are there opportunities from a funding perspective? Or conversely, are these policies going to cost you dollars or take away your authority? We have a very deep history working with business, trade associations, labor organizations, and others to create a blended strategy to advance our clients' interests. And we do have deep ties with various administrative agencies that are very important to the city. Just briefly highlighting a few of our recent wins for other clients. And so we led a coalition in stopping a series of bills that would essentially eliminate the contract city model, which is what the city is built upon, both for the League of California Cities and for various local agency clients. We've worked to try and advance policies that have helped provide more flexibility locally to discuss areas of interest in and around the Brown Act, and have helped protect fee authority for local agencies. On the budget side, have worked with various agencies on securing dollars for fire stations, using a wraparound service model, so grant writing and lobbying over $44 million for the city of Bakersfield. And then recently secured another $3.2 million for a park project down in Southern California, as well as $4.2 million for safe streets and roads. So, what we would do is, and as I alluded to, upon approval, immediately jump in and start to really understand the nuances of our new relationship with our client. Really look to try and understand your unique issues. A couple of things initially that we have done throughout our own research. Of course, water quality, seeking legislation to understand or to rectify some of the inherent revenue challenges that the city may face with respect to property tax in lieu, vehicle licensing fees, sales tax issues, transportation infrastructure, and of course, housing and land use. And so with that, happy to answer any more questions. Thank you.
As a 6-year-old firm, I assume it's from your staff that brings it, but how did you guys get so many civic and organizations as your clients?
So my background personally, I spent 4.5 years working at the League of California Cities prior to starting the firm. I worked on some of the administrative services and governmental operations issues, worked very closely with city managers, finance directors, HR directors across the state. And really, when starting the firm, just partnered with our clients and have a really good reputation, I feel, and we've continued to grow in that space. And I've hired a really fantastic team to also help build that out.
And is there any type of ranking for this category? Like consultants, grant writers, things like that? Is there any rank, where would you guys sit in the California average? Is there any type of ranking
I think we're the best advocacy firm in the state of California. Thank you for opening that door for me.
It's a great answer.
But the only, I think, quote, I think ranking would be reportable dollars that you receive from your clients. We're a smaller boutique firm. We do not go after everything. We go after the things that we want to go after, that we're excited about. We are very excited about this opportunity, which is why we decided to go for it. But we aren't, as I tell our clients, we like to consider ourselves, we're not McDonald's, we're more like in that Morton's, boutique style. So we really are selective about the clients that we want to partner with.
Okay, thank you.
What did you do for the League of Cities?
I was one of the legislative advocates. I did both state legislative advocacy and was also the federal policy liaison and worked with our federal lobbyists in DC.
Great.
Hello, Mayor, Sue, Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Dennis Cardoza. I am the federal chair of the public policy practice at Foley and Lardner. I also was your assembly member in the California legislature, and I was a very near congressman to this district, and Mountain House has a special place in my heart. If you, some of you may remember that I carried the legislation that allowed Mountain House to get its special utility service from the irrigation district, so you have a lower utility. That was one of my favorite bills, and someday I'll tell you the story over cocktails of how that happened. It was quite a fun experience, part of the history of your community. About Foley and Lardner, we're a very large law firm, 1,200 lawyers, almost 27 offices across the country, 2 new offices being established. We also have offices in Europe and in Japan and other areas. We do all kinds of law, but the area that you're concerned in tonight and the area that I am concerned, I'm not a lawyer, by the way, but we do advocacy. And we are, much like the California firm you just heard from, we're sort of a boutique shop within the big law firm where we craft policy solutions for you in a very targeted way, and we don't do cookie cutter. We do what you need to get the job done. Thank you. Thank you. Our approach is that our team is, as I was indicating, providing a full suite of services as we indicated in the RFP. I won't regurgitate that, but I will tell you that 60% of our team, 3 of the members, are amongst the 300 best lobbyists according to the Hill magazine that rates these folks. Communication is the cornerstone of our advocacy. We believe that we have to have regular communication, knowing what your hopes, dreams, and aspirations are for your city and needs for your community. And we go out and achieve those. We tend to win for our clients about 85% of the time. The times that we don't win are usually because Congress isn't doing their job, not because you or I aren't doing ours. The next slide, you will see this is our team that I lead in Washington. We are also always looking for another Republican on the team. We had one that just retired, former member, and so we're in the process of searching for the right person to fill out the bipartisan nature of our team. But we typically have half of our team is Republicans, half of them Democrats, relationships on both sides. Our goal is to create lasting, long-term relationships for your community that succeed in achieving your goals. We have an incredible relationship with your 3 representatives, Representative Harder, and both senators, Mr. Padilla and Mr. Schiff. Also, I'll just add that depending on how the redistricting goes, you may have a different congressman, depending on how this all works out. And that young man, who's now a congressman, used to be my driver when I was in the state legislature working for this area. So we have deep relationships with your community and the legislators in your area. We are often called upon not just to lobby, but to offer advice. And that is solely at the discretion of your city manager if he desires. But we are often called upon to discuss labor matters, to discuss pension matters and other things. And we're often there to help if needed for that kind of additional service. And as I said before, we have a track record of winning for our clients. And just to discuss a few of the, thank you. Just to discuss a few of the wins that we've had just in the last budget cycle, we got $47 million for a new interchange at Coral Hollow Road. We've had multiple tens of millions of dollars in canal maintenance for the San Luis Delta Mendota Water Authority and helped them with a $1 billion expansion of the San Luis Reservoir. We just 2 years ago got the largest grant ever awarded to a private company of $3 billion to build the Las Vegas to Los Angeles high-speed rail for our client Brightline West. We have an $8 million innovative water plan that was implemented at United Water Conservation District. And I highlight that one because that's exactly the kinds of things that you're doing for your community, is trying to build water resiliency and redundancy for your citizens. And then for you, specifically as your contractor for the last 6 months, we first got the Corps of Engineers to award a $5 million grant. We got Congressman Harder and worked with Congressman Harder to get the Corps of Engineers to put forward a $5 million award. Congress didn't pass that earmark because they didn't pass their budget. But Congressman Harder did his job trying to get it done for you all. This year, we were going to do the same kind of grant, but the Corps of Engineers, due to some of the budget cuts in Washington, the DOGE cuts, did not have the capacity to fulfill that work program. And so Congressman Harder created a workaround where he requested a $3 million earmark for your community with the Wickland cut with BBID partnership. And that is currently pending. Of course, Congress has to do the rest of the job. The Senate has to approve it. It has to go to conference, and the president's got to sign that budget. So there's still more work to do, but it is in the pipeline to have that project done. With that, I will be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Mr. Cardozo, the reason why I asked that was about going to California, because we had a team that went to DC with the COG back in May, and it's kind of an eye-opener for us. Different administration now, and so a little tough. We were going for transportation needs, and it's a little tough. So that's why I was asking, when has your folks been back to DC trying to get stuff, because it's a little different attitude, and how you try to ask for things or get things is depending on the wording that you use, because some of the wording doesn't fit in with the philosophy of the new administration. So that's kind of where I was getting at.
Yeah, you have to, that's part of crafting a plan for each situation, sir. And we take all that into consideration. We'll sit down with you. One thing that I didn't mention that and I'll get back to more to your answer of your question, but we also are willing to do deep dives with you and your council periodically. Obviously, it's always at the direction for us from your city manager, and we follow that at your policy establishment. But we also are always willing to come back once or twice a year and do planning sessions with y'all to sort of talk about strategy and how we include you in that lobby effort and how we achieve success. And I did see some of your folks at the COG. By the way, I started that COG trip. Myself and Mr. Pombo worked together to start that COG trip, and it's been quite successful for San Joaquin County. It's got a lot of resources that we've been able to bring back to the county with that. But you're right, that there is a different philosophy in the administration right now, and we have to craft a policy to do that. But there's still discrete bills that happen, like the WARDA bill, which is the Water Resources Development Act, or the T bill, which is going to be happening in the next 6 to 8 months. They're writing it right now. And you have to look for those opportunities and then strike while the iron's hot for the particular legislation and the vehicle that's going to be coming up. And so that's part of what our job is, to tell you what's coming, what's doable, frankly, telling you what's not doable. If it was last year's program and we're not going to get energy solar project done in this administration, we have to look at a different place to figure out how to achieve your goals. And so that's exactly what we do for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Vice Mayor.
I just want to make a comment, Mr. Cardozo. That's one thing that I do know, that you develop relationships along the way. You have friends and colleagues on both sides of the aisle, and I can see that as a plus for working with any organization, that you partner with people.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's a positive thing.
Thank you.
turn my mic off. At this point, did we already do public comments? I can't even remember. Public comments? No? Bring it back to the council. Discussion, motion? Anybody?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Disco?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Councilmember Harrison?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Tingle?
Aye.
Mayor Sue?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
Oh, next two should be faster.
All right, thank you, council.
Faster slightly. 8.6, reschedule the regular city council meeting of September 24th, 2025. Why was that again? Margaret? September 24th
Yeah, I asked, could we reschedule the meeting from that?
to the 25th?
Yes.
Okay. I thought we agreed on that.
Yeah,
We did,
just
but
had
it
to
wasn't
bring it back.
agendized.
You have to come back with formal action, so.
Can I
All
make
right,
a motion?
any questions about the change? Any public comments?
I'd like to make a motion that we change the scheduled meeting from September the 24th to September the 25th at 7 PM.
I second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Disco?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Councilmember Harrison?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Tingle?
Aye.
Mayor Sue?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
Let's move on to 8.7, voting delegate for the 2025 League of California Cities. Do you need a report to present? Do you need to present a report?
I have a PowerPoint if you wanted to see it.
We need a delegate.
Right now, there's nothing actually to vote on. There may be some things that come up that day, but just so you
Right.
know, there aren't any resolutions, but we still have to have a voting delegate.
I'd like to be the delegate.
I'd go too. I think it
Okay.
asks for.
Voting delegate and an alternate.
Delegate and an alternate.
Yeah.
Wait, any public comments? No? All right, back to discussion at this point. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to have the vice mayor be the delegate for it, and then the alternate is,
Council.
who said there was?
Green.
Green, okay.
Okay. Somebody second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Disco?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
Yes.
Councilmember
Aye.
Harrison?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Tingle?
Aye.
Mayor Sue?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
We're actually going to skip 9.1 for now, delay till a future meeting. City manager's update, Steve?
We'll be quick. Just need my PowerPoint, and we can be very efficient. See if I had any notes on this. So just to follow up, we did follow up on the question about the crossing guard last time, and so we've updated our webpage. And hopefully, when is the training, Amanda? This past weekend. And we had how many? 7. So 7 went through the training.
Wait,
Okay.
28 new people?
28 signed up, 7 attended.
What? That's not.
Is there another class scheduled? What's the date on that?
Don't have a date yet, but we'll be soliciting again. All right, next slide.
Thank you.
And just a reminder that we've been updating our utility billing FAQ page because of all the questions we've been getting on utility billing. We're having our first It Takes a Village forum on October 2nd. And I think Amanda will wait on the unveiling till next meeting to show, given the time constraints tonight, we'll skip the showing them the new webpage until next time. But we're migrating, or do you really want to do it? Is that what you're saying? All right, I'll take 20 seconds to show you what the new webpage is going to look like as we migrate to a superior system. 10, there we go. There's our new, so we're going to a new, faster, more interactive interface. It'll have the little guy in the corner who can answer your questions, the whole bit. And so this is just the mock-up of it. But just to give you an idea of our new and improved webpage, we'll be freezing everything. We can't update anything. What's the freeze-out period as we transition? So from September 1st to October 15th, we won't be updating most of the website. And then what's the debut date? First weekend of December. So this is our new and improved website. We're very excited about it. All right, back to the
Wait,
update.
so we're going to freeze any updates to the current website for 6?
Clarify.
Yeah, please.
So we're migrating over to our new system, which means that anything that is currently on the website now will just be migrated over. Any new updates that are happening, I just have to take note of them because then I'll be doing both websites because they won't grab the new information if it's put onto our current website because it might have been already migrated over. We're trying to limit anything that's being put on during that time just because then that's less things we have to pull over because they won't migrate over like the calendars or the news updates. I have to do that all manually. But everything else, they'll be migrating about 400 pages over.
So they being a private developer?
Civic Plus that we're
Civic Plus, got it,
utilizing, yeah.
got it.
And we should mention that her newsletter platform, for typically for emails, we're thrilled if what? We get a 2 or 3% open rate?
30%.
Pardon?
30%.
Well, but a typical email might have a 2 or 3%. We were at 30, which was outstanding.
Right.
And we're now, Amanda's got it up to 52% of the folks who get our newsletter, and that's how many thousand people?
About 2,500.
2,500 folks, and we're getting 52% open rate. So I think we're getting a lot of information out of there these days, which tells you that people are finding this useful and informative.
And for plans and submissions into the building department, that stuff will still automatically update? It's the manual things like the Christmas tree lighting and things that you have to manually do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We, all of like the calendar and stuff like that, that will be migrated already automatically, so.
Got it. And this is a segmented rollout or a full ship on the entire?
It,
Is it going to be
been-
segmented portion by portion of the page?
No, it'll be the whole.
The whole template? will-
Yep.
Got it,
whole thing.
migrate, thanks.
HR, we're recruiting for, unfortunately, our customer service supervisor had a pre-planned retirement. It had nothing to do with all the changeover, but we're recruiting for that right now, so there can be some training time as we hire the new customer service supervisor over in utilities. You've met our new construction manager and engineer. We also hired another recreation leader. We're hoping to have the class and comp study done in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And HR is very busy with open enrollment. And so those of you who are using our medical insurance, don't forget, now, I think we'll have the date soon on when you can change and update your medical. And finance is doing their year end right now, and of course, still knee deep in the utility billing conversion. Had another successful Music in the Park and Central Park Cinema, and we had about 1,400, which is as high as we've ever had for National Night Out. So we had another good attendance for that. And the way we get that attendance is with this program called Placer AI that actually through tracking cell phones, is able to come up with very accurate estimates of how many people. It also comes in very handy when we're reviewing applications for events in the park and people say, well, we might have 500, we need one security guard. And then we look, if they had 4,000 people last year, we say, no, we think you need a little more security. So it's a great way of making sure that these events are adequately covered with the proper services. So we feel real good about the fact we're really able to well track the attendance. And you can actually see what businesses people went to after the events or before the events as well, and how many people came from out of town. Don't forget about our Thursday wellness activities and our Wellness Expo on September 27th, sponsored by Kaiser. Karen mentioned it earlier. We're starting with, through the work of Mountain House Developers, our raw water pond, which will help alleviate the stress we have when they're doing spraying in the Delta. You know, this gives us, what do you think right now, about 6 days, but now that, since we're not at full build out, about 6 to 7 days coverage during peak season. Yeah, without any conservation numbers. So this will give us a lot more flexibility when we have things happening at peak season, where we don't have, our tanks aren't enough. We're doing some home security assessments right now, and don't forget, we'll get you a date next time on Coffee with a Cop. And we'll choose one of our Starbucks locations for that, so. That's right, they can be at each, well, we only have 2 Starbucks so far, but third on the way. Right, and the little fire only impacted one of the tenants in that one building. So it's not gonna slow down Wingstop at all. And they're not sure right now, but we've got good video and everything else. So think it might have been cigarettes. So any questions? We're good.
10.1.
Long-range calendar. See if it's in there somewhere. Is it the updated version?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're just hoping that Adobe is just not nice to us in the chambers sometimes.
But we did, the staff did spend quality time and figured out even, we thought we needed a part for that television, but I guess we just needed a new thumb to press something, correct? So,
Correct.
but we are working on trying to make sure that nothing breaks next time, but we're getting closer. So a reminder, we've got the Valley Link coming up in our chambers on the 10th before the meeting. One more league thing we need to do is appoint a member to the executive board. They have an election coming up, hoping to come back with the trees. We need to extend our contract with the county on GIS, working on getting a oversized vehicle ordinance in place as we continue to add to our municipal code. We're gonna, hopefully, we knew this meeting would be full, so we're putting off go request update until the next meeting, and then depending on what happens with the county and a couple of things, either this meeting or the next meeting, we should be in housing element mode at that point. Once the county finishes their housing element, then it's now our responsibility to take the portion of the housing element that relates to Mountain House and begin our process of adopting a city housing element. And that's gonna require a lot of explanation. So we're gonna start getting ahead of the curve on that issue. We're hoping to come back on the 25th with a plan for what we do with the existing tennis courts as far as their conversion. Our update to the security master plan. We've got potentially some additional development code work we want to do on signage. You know, we had the questions about the cellular antenna a couple months ago. We were already working on a potential antenna at our fire station, so we'll give you an update on both the antenna for the fire station and the potential for those to be cellular sites as well. And then we've got a couple track maps also. And don't forget that meeting. Yeah, oh, you already updated. Very good. Already says the 25th on there. And we've got COG that day as well. The league dinner is also that night, so we'll have to give our regrets on that. Don't forget the Wellness Expo on the 27th. League Conference, the 8th through the 10th. And then the State of the County on October 16th in the morning over at UOP. And then at our next council meeting, we'll have another check-in on State of the City. We'll give you your first check-in on utility rates and where we are there. We'll do an update on the strat plan, and we just scheduled Cosmont to come in and provide an update on economic development that evening, as well as kind of a kickoff to our economic development strategy. And Margaret just remembered she forgot to put that one on there, so. And then don't forget, after both in October, we have back-to-back, sort of back-to-back meetings in October and November. Don't forget about the Veterans Luncheon on November 8th. It's not on Veterans Day, it's on the weekend before Veterans Day. And then we don't have council meetings, second council meetings in November or December, just the first meeting of the month in November and December. So that concludes the long range. And we are looking, and don't forget we have our Second, it takes a village community forum in November as well, where we'll get the public updated on water and our upcoming proposals on water rates as well. Along with the general plan, it takes a village on October 2nd. So we're beginning that, we're going to get the public in this mode of every 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the time of year, having these public forums on items of general interest.
All right. Council comments. Harrison?
None, Mayor.
Tingle?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sue. First of all, I'd like to thank Amanda for promptly getting the starting of the tutoring program out on our bulletin board, and would like to make a request on our new and improved website, if you could post that tutoring started again on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the time frame. I have a question for council. I'd like to know, and also just for our staff, I understand that there may be a new state law or regulation that any young person helping another person, even if they're under 15 or 16 years of age, need to be fingerprinted and a background check in order to help tutor others. And I'd like to have that ran to ground, because I do want to be in regulation and not put the city in jeopardy, but I can't understand why anyone under the age of 16 would be fingerprinted with a background check to help someone else with their homework. So if you could run that to ground for me, it would be much appreciated. So we'll make sure that we're in order.
Green?
I just wanted to remind Karen to don't forget your charcoal.
After party.
Disco?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Jody and the team for doing the 6-month, or I think it's been about 6 months since you guys have been working on the Aquifer. So. Years, yeah. Yeah, but hardcore focus past 6 months, so P0. Also want to apologize for staff for last council meeting if I was too brash about the preparation and delivery to the council on contract renewals, increases, things like that. I know that item had been presented. I didn't think about that at the moment when I was in the heat of the moment, so hopefully I didn't offend anybody, because I know you guys do, just like you ladies today, a lot of hard work to bring those to us, so thank you.
All right. John?
Mr. Mayor, I don't have any comments tonight.
Steve?
No more comments?
What are we adjourning to again? What day?
September 10th?
September 10th. All right. Meeting adjourned to September 10th.